What's up, soda sipping scoundrels? You're listening to the 11th electrifyingly erect episode of Don't Spill the Popcorn!
My name is Dillon.
And I'm Joe Siwa.
Is this a reference I don't understand?
Disney. That fucking, that new fucking Disney teen that's just taking over the scene. Everyone's obsessed with her. It's JoJo Siwa.
Oh, no? Well, I guess I didn't get that reference because I'm not obsessing.
Well, that's because you're turning 30 next month. You're out of the loop now, bud.
I'm old and getting crusty.
Oh, so old. So crusty.
Ew, so old, so crusty. So stinky.
Oh, well, tell him who we are, Dylan. Tell him who we are.
Well, Joe and everyone else, we are two independent filmmakers who have worked together many years, here to bring you honest, critical, and enjoyable movie reviews on exclusively new films only.
You can currently reach us with any comments, concerns, or corrections at don'tspillthepopcorn@gmail.com or on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. The perfect directory to find us everywhere is from our website, www.don'tspillthepopcorn@buzzsprout.com. Unfortunately, at the moment, our website must be corrupt because on my phone, on my laptop, pretty much everything, any type of thing that I've tried to use, for some reason, is saying that the website's like corrupt. Have you tried it yet?
I haven't.
Do you have your? Can you try to pull it up real quick? Why don't you try to go to? Have you ever been to our own website, Dylan? You haven't?
No.
You little shit.
I know it's terrible of me.
Wow. The truth has been revealed. You little fuck.
I live it.
I mean, it's not the prettiest. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's nice. It's free. But it's nice.
Well, yeah, it's free because it's not working. Your connection is not private.
See? I don't know what the fuck that means, so I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with that. So the website is currently down, which actually sucks because, believe it or not, there's a lot of people who listen to our episodes through the website. Like a lot. Like that's probably our third most listened to platform.
Oh, well, what can we do to get that fixed then?
I'm going to have to dig into it. So maybe by the time that this episode airs, I'll get it all figured out. Please let us know by checking out www.don'tspillthepopcorn.buzzsprout.com and let us know by emailing don'tspillthepopcorn@gmail.com. All of our episodes are live on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and more. If you enjoy this movie review podcast, which we both hope you do very much, and would like to support us and back us up monetarily, you can pledge starting as low as $5 on our Patreon at patreon.com/don'tspillthepopcorn. I am 100% sure that still works. For the lowest pledge, you'll get early access to every released episode, and you'll get a shout-out on the next episode. And as you can tell, if you've been following us along, we haven't shouted anyone out yet, so be the first mofo to pop that cherry. Get your name blasted. We will literally do the craziest sounds and explosions and thunderous applause around your name like you fucking own the world. We will make you our world for one whole episode. A whole new world. Don't you close your brown eye.
That world. So today, you guys, we are going to be talking about the highly anticipated film that I've been waiting for 11 whole years. Today, we are talking about Scream, also known as Scream 5. So Scream 2022, aka Scream 5. And I cannot wait.
Dylan, is it a reboot?
It is not a reboot.
Is it a sequel?
It is not a sequel. But
Well, then what the fuck do you call this thing?
a requel.
Bum, 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 bum.
Ba-bum.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. Requel. It's I think it's kind of like a Scream term now, I think, that they made up there. That's one thing about these films is they are very self-aware with their stuff and how they do little things like that within their films, like a requel. Just like the last one was kind of like a remake. Scream 4 was supposed to be like a remake version, but
It's kind of like a thing we've seen before, but no one ever really. It never felt like anyone really like put a name on it. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely something that's come up, but nobody ever really like claimed it.
yeah, exactly. At least I didn't notice. So
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like but that's the thing is they definitely leaned into it too.
oh yeah,
So that might be the extra reason for sure. But I like that. I like that a lot. It makes it feel more standalone.
I mean, that's what, like I said, that's what all the films, like the second movie talked about how it, like the sequels, like never like surpass the originals. And then the third one is kind of like going back to the, the roots, which they kind of do it in Hollywood and you get to see the sets and stuff like that from the first movie. And then the fourth one's like a remake. And then this one is like a sequel, but also kind of like a sequel, but also kind of like a prequel in a way.
Oh, so it's kind of like a requel.
Exactly.
Wow.
You nailed it.
Full circle, baby. Thank you. A+.
To only you.
Give me that sticker, bitch.
Oh, give me that sticker, bitch. It better be a scratch and sniff one, too.
I got I got crabs.
Ew, that'd be such a, like, you got like a smell, or like you got the crabs in your, pants.
It's funny because you'll hear a couple episodes after this one how we mention that unexpectedly how we were going to be throwing this one in. This is actually supposed to be episode 11, but it's going to be episode 8, I believe.
We're not gonna. I almost was going to say that we weren't going to cover this movie as much as, Scream is my favorite film and everything. I didn't know if that's what. I don't know. It didn't fit our format as far as like I think we should stick mainly to only original films, or they're so like new that you don't have to watch the original ones, or like original film, anything. You know what I mean? Like no sequels unless it's like a new path that you don't need to watch the originals, or ones that we've already started on this show.
Yeah, which is why I'm kind of okay with us having not done Halloween Kills, because there was a movie that had already come out fairly recently that this was kind of a sequel to, that it would have just been way out of whack.
As much as I would have loved, but yeah.
Especially because since we've started this podcast, I think you've mentioned something about Scream at least once in almost every episode.
This is just, I had to do this one.
Sometimes there was even news in the news section. Sometimes there was even Scream news. It was meant to be. Almost all of the films that we've done so far in season 1, I would have never guessed that they would be films that we would be watching and doing, in our first season of podcasting. Is crazy. There's just the fact that they came up at all. So this was supposed to be episode 11. Fun little fact for everybody, but there's actually 3 other episodes that are going to come up after this one that were recorded before this one. But this one's so new and so relevant, and we're so behind, and we just want to pound this one out and get it out there to you right away, because, this is like Dillon's special episode, and this is something that is a milestone in our existence, because Scream is just something, even between the two of us, mostly him, obviously, is something that's just a word, and something that's deeply influenced, his filmmaking and his film career, and all of his work and our friendship to this very day. When you really think about it, this movie has a lot to do with everything that has to do with us and your personal love interest with horror and film than almost any other movie that has ever existed, any other movie that you've ever watched.
Absolutely.
This is the one. This is the one.
This is between Scream, even Halloween, but Scream, obviously that was the one. And that's inspiration for the Horrible 4, which really made our relationship strong, and we made new friends and more friends. And, there was a lot of friendship building with those movies, and it was all because of Scream. Our character was based off of Scream and Michael and Jason all in one. We kind of created that, I think, but it was really heavily influenced by Scream.
So I'm dying to know, because I don't think that I've ever heard, how was Scream introduced into your life? How did you first get introduced to Ghostface in the first movie?
I feel I remember seeing Halloween, I think it was H2O and or Halloween 6 when I was really young. I used to watch horror movies since I was like 5. Not even kidding. But I think when Take-Two Video was going out of business, I think that was the one downtown, correct? In our hometown?
Oh, that was Blockbuster.
No, we didn't have a Blockbuster in St. Mary's.
Fuck yeah, we did have a Blockbuster. That blue building?
That was eventually a Take-Two Video. It doesn't matter. So this video store,
It was definitely Blockbuster.
I feel like I've seen Scream throughout my times before owning it. But I think owning it is when I really just kept on rewatching it. So when the video store was going out of business, my mom and I went there, and I went into the horror section. I looked for like all these movies that I asked her for, and I think I got a couple Halloweens, Halloween H2O, and then I think all the Screams, or at least I think like 1 and 3, and then I TV recorded 2 or something. But either way, I just would watch them over and over, and I mean, the series as a whole is my favorite, but obviously Scream 1 is my absolute favorite movie ever. But the series is just... I can't wait to talk about this film. I mean, it's the reason why... Scream is the reason why I'm even in the film business in the first place.
Yeah, and it's wild how much it influenced you. And I mean, that first movie, man, that first movie was stellar. I mean, from what I remember... from the other films, they were fair. Like the one we saw 3 in theaters together, correct?
No, 4.
It was 4. Okay.
Oh, so that's also cool. I forgot we've seen 4 together.
Yeah, back in the day. It's been a while.
I wish we would have seen 5 together.
I know. But yeah, that first, and I could see why you got so. I was, for some reason, for a really long time, I was such a baby about horror movies. Now I'm only a baby about like horror VR and horror video games. Horror movies don't bother me because I can just kick back and enjoy it. But when I actually have to physically contribute,
oh yeah, which that's still scary for me too. But yeah,
you were really the first person that made me be like, oh, I fucking guess I'll watch, or you know what I mean? Like I kind of it pushed me out of my comfort zone to try to watch more stuff. And I still kick myself in the ass to this day because you tried to have me watch all of the I know what you did last summer series.
Well, at least the first 2. After that, they just suck. And the series sucks, I guess. I never watched it, but the new Amazon series, they got canceled after 1 season.
Yeah, the Halloween movies, the Texas Chainsaw movies, the Scream movies. You tried to get me to watch all of them, and they would all be on, and there I would be, just texting away on my phone, on my little piece of shit flip phone. I would just be doing something else, not paying attention.
Yep, or sleeping.
Oh, definitely sleeping. You wouldn't realize a lot of the time that I was fucking off on my phone because you were like, so, usually you or Nathan would always catch me and be like, hey, get the fuck off your phone. But you were so engulfed into the movie that you didn't even realize I wasn't watching it because you loved them so much. That's how I got away with it.
Whatever, at least I got to enjoy them. Now it'll be me talking and Joe being like, "Oh, that's cool that happened. Whoa, I watched the new Scream. I kind of know some of the other ones."
So tell me, also another question for you. This is the first film on this podcast that we had the opportunity to go to the movie theater and actually get a movie theater experience before recording and speaking with each other, which was also really cool. We went 2 times. We saw this movie 2 times. How was your experience from top to bottom? How did you feel about it? Time 1 and 2. Let's do time 1.
Okay. Well, time 1 was supposed to be on Thursday when it didn't have a wide release yet, and I was going to go to one. It was last minute. I didn't even realize about it, but there was a Q&A with David Arquette, the directors, and Kevin Williamson, the writer of the first 2 Screams and executive producer on this. And it was like a virtual Q&A live. It was at 8:00. The problem was I didn't know about it until last minute, and I ended up having to work the next morning in the morning, and this would have went from probably 8 to 11, almost 12, and to work early. I was like thinking about like asking off and stuff, because what sucked was I had off a day or 2 throughout the week because of some scheduling stuff, but then Friday we didn't have off, the one day I was really hoping to. So I didn't end up going to that, which I really kicked myself for, but it is what it is. So I ended up going with Cameron on Friday. Didn't know what time I was going to get out of work, so I didn't get my ticket until last minute. Needless to say, the time that we had to go, there was it was like sold out, and it was like the XD screen, so it was like really, really big. The only place they had available was the first row. So we had to sit in the very middle of the first row, and let me tell you, that experience fucking sucked. Like, I was pissed, and Cameron knew I was pissed. Like, I was.
Did you hurt your neck?
Yes, because you know what? Like, it didn't hurt my neck to like look up. It hurt my neck because I had to look to the left and right, like so fast to just look at anybody like between the two cuts, and it's just like, oh my god. And then when action would happen, it was like I can't even see what's going on.
What about the sound? Did you feel like you were like not getting the sound properly either because of where you were sitting?
I feel like a little bit. I felt like the sound was bigger, but still not as proper sounding. Where we were sitting, the second viewing, the sound sounded better, but not as big. Yeah. But the first viewing, the screen was also at an angle where it almost looked warped. So on top of that,
what a nightmare.
It was like it sucked. And then all the like all the dark areas were like gray. Nothing had contrast, and it was so hard to see anything, especially in the dark. And I was like, I almost was gonna stand on my goddamn seat, dude. Like I did. Like I put my feet on there, put my jacket under, and I started sitting up higher because I'm like, this fucking sucks. Like try to sit back the whole time. It sucked. It sucked so bad. And I think it kind of like influenced how I felt for a minute about the movie as well as Cameron. But I won't get into that until later. And then the second viewing was so much better. Cameron didn't get to go. It was just me. And I think that was the first time I ever seen a movie twice in theaters. And I think it was the first time I ever went to the movies by myself. So both cherries were popped that day. And I had a blast the second time. I think the audience were more reactive to the movie and did more, laughed more and said more things, like more gasps. Also, the popcorn in the first viewing sucked. It was cold and like burnt and gross. Yeah. I wish I would have spilled the popcorn on that one.
Oh. Yeah, you should have spilt it in their eyeballs and tortured them.
Or my eyeballs because it wasn't worth it.
No, you didn't deserve that. You don't deserve that. You deserve good popcorn.
One thing I do remember about that big screen, though, was the trailer for Jackass. And when the guys come down the sled, like they like to slow down their body when they jump on that little like hill, and it's just like huge. I'm just like... so like dramatic. But anyways, the second viewing was so much better. Like I said, the audience were more interactive. I was in the middle of two people I did not know. Like this theater was full as well. It was a smaller one, regular size theater, not the huge screen one, but I was directly in the middle, and it was so nice hearing the sound and hearing the people's reactions, and the quality of the video looked so much better, had better colors and like more of a range. So the second viewing was ideal. And I like trying to take notes in a theater was like impossible. Like I couldn't see anything. And so I had this little notebook, and the only way I could do it was I would take my finger and I'd write something and like almost like slide my finger down and like just try to write on this notebook. And I actually took a lot more notes than I thought I was going to.
So you would definitely say you enjoyed your second viewing better then, huh?
Absolutely. And I went to a different theater, so I don't know if that helped.
That's amazing.
Also, in my car, I took my Scream mask, and on the passenger side, I like put the mask on the seat, and because my seats are black, it looks like somebody is sitting in my passenger seat in my car.
Just some big fucker with a Ghostface mask. Ew.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and that's gonna be my everyday thing. I think I just bought a new mask to put on there. But how about yours? How was your viewing?
Both times I had fan-fucking-tastic seats because I don't ever remember the exact number, but I go to the same movie theater all the time, so I know the perfect place to sit now, where the sound is perfect, the screen is perfect. Like it cuts off in the middle, but the middle in this theater is a little higher up than other theaters, and it's like 4 rows up from where it cuts off in the middle. And in the middle of that section is like the perfect spot to where all the speakers come right onto you, and the angle of the screen is perfect. So that already had me set up for a great experience. The first time around on Friday, there was like nobody there. It was kind of weird. It almost felt like I went to like an exclusive premiere where I was like one of 5 people picked to see the movie early and like critique it or judge it or whatever the fuck. That's what it felt like my first viewing. So it wasn't bad, and it was actually the time when that's the only thing that made me sad was that was the time that I was absorbing it the most rather than kind of being more involved in, because all I did for my second viewing was I didn't even take deeper, more critical notes like I would. I just gave myself a lot of reference points to hopefully just stimulate, my memory. So my first experience was kind of bland, but because I had a good seat, I bring my vape pen into the movie theater, so I get fucking so obliterated when I watch the movies in the movie at the, and it's so amazing. So my second movie theater experience was fucking awesome. That had like the best crowd. It was like other than today when I texted you and I was like, holy shit, like this is the most people I've seen at a movie theater since the pandemic started. And these both were matinees, mind you. So I wasn't surprised that there wasn't really that many people there on a Friday at 3:15 in the afternoon. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just a weird time. But on Saturday, it was fucking packed. And I was sitting around all different types of people, there were all the fucking youngins way in the back. There were the fucking real heavy movie nerds that are like have been following the franchise for all time. They wanted to make sure that they got the best seats. And then you had all like the couples and the lone chillers that, like the first date people and all that kind of stuff that was sitting up front. So you had like, I could see like the cute, like young couple that weren't with like a huge friend group in the front that were like reacting to each other, or like the girls getting scared and shit. And then there was like the quiet, respectful whispering and critiquing of the people that were in the middle row with me. And then all the like obnoxious, but kind of like, it fit in perfectly sometimes and sometimes it didn't, kind of camaraderie that was going on in the back. So as we talk about this, I'm sure that there will be a few moments that stimulate, because I don't want to mention, it'll spoil things now if I mention exact moments and stuff like that. But it was the first movie I've seen in a long time where I actually felt like I was with the audience. You know what I mean? Where I felt like we were all there together, experiencing the same thing, sharing those feelings, watching this movie. That was a lot of fun. Even though I was scribbling like a fucking madman into this little book the whole time. And I was, I would probably say that my eyes were 60% on the book and 40% on the screen for my second viewing.
See, I couldn't see at all. I literally wrote without looking. I looked at the screen, wrote, because I could not, it was so dark. I could not see, which is okay.
Yeah.
But because I made it work. I could read it.
We're going to find out how much I can make out of this. That's going to be fucking interesting.
I tried to decipher mine before to make sure, because I had to question a few of mine, but I ended up getting it. I don't know how, but I do want to say one thing. Since we were talking about the theater experience, something else I really enjoyed was, one, I wish I was at your theater, because that is the best. That's what makes a theater experience the best, when you have heavy audience reactions and, like not obnoxious, but they like either laugh or they scream or they talk or they like make a joke and it makes the rest of us laugh. Like that's the stuff I wish. The first one, I felt like I had none of that at all. Nobody said anything, as packed as both times were. The second time was a little bit more, but not like an insane amount. I wish it was more. And since I seen it right, I kind of like always would like look around at people's reactions to see what they would do. That was fun. But they still didn't do too much. But then I'd listen to people as they'd like leave the theater, as they were walking to the bathrooms. I'd listen to their conversation. But I could see how many Scream fans they were. Like people were coming in with shirts on, with like signed autographs. They were just for some reason bringing with them and like all this stuff. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And then you had like young kids to, like you said, like young kids to adults to older people to like just the spectrum was full there, and it was beautiful. I love that. So, sorry, I want to throw that back in before we go ahead and introduce the movie trailer.
Yeah, it was definitely amazing to have that very human experience, because it felt like it's been a very, very long time since I felt like I went to the movies to be a part of an experience and not just feeling like I could have just been doing this at home, because over the pandemic, it really started to feel, even before the pandemic, it like a lot of the movies that I had went to I started to not have that same feeling like I used to, and I feel like now that people are starting to get back into going to the movie theaters again, I feel like there's kind of this rekindling of the appreciation of what it is and how it makes you feel while you're there. So I really got a nice taste of that, and it made a big difference of how I felt about the movie. So without any further ado, Dillon, I think that it's about damn time that we get into episode 11, which is actually episode 8, Scream.
There's certain rules to surviving. Believe me, I know. They always come back. The killer is a part of something in the past. This one just feels different.
You're all in danger.
Mom? Where?
Sydney. I've seen this movie before.
Not this movie.
You said we were gonna finish this. Go finish it, Sydney.
Scream.
I'll be right back.
He's dead.
Only in theaters. Special previews Thursday at 7 p.m. Get tickets now.
So as always, before we get into the spoiler section, we are going to tell you our general thoughts and just some random information. But we will give you a nice warning, especially for this film. We will give you a nice warning before we get into the spoiler section, because the spoiler section will be for all 5 Scream films. I can't believe I'm saying that. All 5 Scream films. That's insane. So the brief description on IMDb is 25 years after the original series of murders in Woodsboro, a new Ghostface emerges, and Sidney Prescott must return to uncover the truth. Categorized under the horror mystery thriller genres, this R-rated badass return of all things Ghostface thus far has reined in a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb, a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 85% on Fandango. Oh my God.
Pretty good fucking reviews
Holy
there, dude.
shit, are those reviews crazy awesome.
Especially for a horror film.
Exactly. I just can't believe what Scream 4 and Scream 5 did comparable, because right now Scream 2022 is almost beating, if not already beating, Scream 4's box office back in 2011 when that was like 30 some million. We're at that right now, I think. And this is only 4 days. That was for their whole run at the box office. So, and I mean, which we'll talk about the movies a little bit more later, but yeah, so one 5-star review said, fantastic. Spoiler free, of course. I love the movie. It has some big surprises. The acting is top notch. The whodunit aspect is better than it has been in a while. Our legacy actors are amazing, and when the casts get intermixed, that's when it gets really good. I loved it so much, I can't wait to watch it 1,000 more times.
Wow.
That's dedication.
That is some love right there. And where there is love, there is hate. And 1 star that is left under the tree for a movie. I know. So the 1 star that was left under the Christmas tree this year for this movie goes, as bad as it gets. Just awful. How did this movie script even get greenlit? Even the slasher flick, the dialogue horribleness, almost like it was written by a 3rd grader. Worst of all, this movie insults the audience's intelligence, meaning my intelligence that I feel is insulted at every turn. Not like the original, which made me feel very smart. A very poor tribute to Wes. Don't make my mistake. Avoid it at all costs.
Mojo Jojo.
Here's a 1 star. Take the 1 star.
Speaking of Mojo Jojo, you know Powerpuff Girls?
Yeah, I knew about that because I listened to Fake Doctors, Real Friends podcast with fucking Donald Faison, bitch.
Wait, what do you know?
I know that he's the professor,
Who is?
Donald Faison.
Oh, well, did you know that Roger Jackson, he does the voice for Scream, for all of them, all 5.
What's your favorite scary movie?
It's so creepy. It sounds different almost every movie, but every time it still sounds creepy. It's still, and this one he did really creepy. His voice was really creepy. But he is the same guy that does a voice for Mojo Jojo and the Powerpuff Girls and like all this other stuff.
You like scary movies? What's your favorite scary movie? Do you like...
Oh, get out of here! There is nothing scary about him. I am much scarier. I am more evil, too. I destroy entire cities. He just stabs people.
Really?
Goodbye.
Is he doing it for the film?
What do you mean?
There-
Is there a movie coming out?
Oh, is that? I thought that's what you were talking about.
No.
Oh, there's a TV series or a movie that's in the works right now for Powerpuff Girls.
Like a live action?
Yes, with starring Donald Faison as the lead role of whatever his fucking name is, Professor.
There is a poster. Look at that damn poster. That's embarrassing. It looks like it's been made in the 90s.
Does it have Donald Faison?
And it looks like
on
it's
it?
fan made. Like that can't be real. Is this real?
Oh Jesus, no. That can't be. That looks fucking awful. That looks terrible. Well, I know 100% for sure that last year they filmed their pilot. I think it's going to be a TV series. They filmed their pilot. Somebody picked it up. The pilot that they shot was so fucking bad that they told them to reshoot it and send another pilot into them. That was quite a little bit ago now. That was probably at least 6 months ago. So they probably, if they did film a second pilot, they would definitely know by now, I would think, if they got passed or not. But I don't think it got passed. Well, as many of you know, some of the main faces in this film are Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette. Obviously, which is one of the biggest pull-ins for this movie. And I think, in my opinion, that they leaned a little bit heavier on that for their advertisement, hoping that they're going to get, draw more people in.
I mean, they were in it more than I thought.
I will agree with that too. And I'll stop myself there before I say too much because I don't want to spill the popcorn a little too early. But, Marley Shelton, of course, as well, that we are familiar with. But new faces are Melissa Barrera, also known as Sam Carpenter in the film, Jenna Ortega, which was known as her little sister Tara Carpenter in the film. Then there was Dillon Minette, who was playing Wes Hicks. Do you think the name Wes was...
yes, very much
little...
Wes Craven.
Yeah, you think
and
so?
at the part... Oh, I can't say anything yet. We'll
Not
say that
yet.
stuff later.
Hold it.
At the...
Hold it.
What? I don't know.
He wasn't going to say anything. But yeah, that those were some of the newer faces. Melissa Barrera wasn't someone that's really been seen too much in American films. Most of the work that she's been in is a lot of projects that come straight out of Mexico City. Jenna Ortega, though, she looked very, very familiar, and I realized that she was in what was the last season that just came out for You? Was it 3 or 4?
Oh, You. Yeah. She was in You. I don't remember which one, though, but yeah.
Yeah, You, the series, TV series.
3's coming out, I think, or is out. I stopped watching it.
Ah, I see. Well, it was either the second or third season. She was in that pretty heavily, actually, and she's been an actress since she was 9 years old. So she's kind of a child. She's a child actor herself. And Dillon is apparently saying that there is a other familiar face that I am not mentioning that I should be. Please tell me what it is. Would it be Jack Quaid by chance?
It would actually be Heather Matarazzo. She is Martha Meeks, and she was in Scream 3. She is Randy's sister.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So that was cool to be able to bring that back in, and see her again.
Yes. See, and this is the part where you come in because those are things that I don't remember. Thank you, Dillon.
You're welcome, Joseph Blum.
You're my guide. Dillon will be our executive Scream guide. Please keep all hands and penises in the ride at all times.
So Roger Jackson is the voice of Scream from 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5. So he's also reprising his role.
Yes. So big, not a main face, but a main voice.
Exactly. They kept him secret from all the cast, even from like especially the first movie. Like Wes didn't let like the actors see him, but he would be there and like call them on the phone and talk to them, and that's how they knew. And like even like the fourth movie, like Hayden Panettiere, she would wait outside of her window or whatever to like look at his like trailer for hours because she wanted to know what he looked like, and just like waiting for him to come out. And then she never got to see him, I don't think. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But yeah, as far as like why didn't they use their voices and like
you can see him on IMDb, right? You can see him on Google.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's done like interviews and stuff.
Does he look creepy or does he look normal?
Normal guy. Yeah. I mean, he could probably play like a creepy character if he wanted to, like as far as
cool.
But he's not like he doesn't look like he'd be a Scream person.
Yeah, he's got that voice.
Exactly. That obviously those credits aren't lying.
Some people are just born to be voice actors, man.
His voice is scary. His voice has always been scary. So I think that's why they heard his voice and they're probably like, damn, this is the main.
Yeah. And this is also the first film that we have more than one main director on the film. Who are these mofos?
The directors for this new film, it's always been Wes Craven, but he passed in 2015 from cancer, unfortunately. But the two new directors are Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett. I guess that's how you pronounce his last name, Gillett?
Gillett.
Gillett. So, yeah, two directors, and I love that because that's kind of how, like, Joe and I function. Like, you know, I know that I do, like, a lot of the directing stuff, but you definitely come in to, like, help as well, and that's the best way, I think, to do it. Unless you're like dead set on not working with someone. But if you can work with somebody, like just build off each other, that's the best way to do it. And I think you could see it in their other films, how they build off, you know, like you can see it in this film, like whether good or bad, I'm not going to give it away. You can just see how it's good to have more than one person's brain in directing, you know, a movie.
I mean, you would even see throughout history that, you know, with great pieces of work and inventions and anything, the greatest things come from opportunities where people who have chemistry have the opportunity to bounce off of each other, or people who have the knowledge are able to bounce off of each other. So so perfect. Yeah. So whenever you find somebody in your life, you know, that you have similar interests in, and you both dive into something, it makes for very magical things to possibly happen, or garbage, and you just have
Absolutely.
a fun time trying to come up with shit.
Like we just did with that music.
Sometimes you just gotta scrap everything and just start all over. But all of those things, you know, it's one of those things where I didn't learn how to make a light bulb, but I learned a million ways how not to make a light bulb.
Exactly.
You know, shit like that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's a pretty good saying. We just got it's always a learning experience. So no matter what, it's cool that you can learn together, because once you start doing it enough, it's just like you don't have to say anything. The other one just knows.
Yeah. So I'm gonna hesitantly make my way through my general thoughts here. Overall, I think that I had a really great experience watching the movie. This is the first time, outside of watching Fear Street, 1994. This is the first kind of horror-related film since that film that I felt like I was actually watching like a horror film that's making me feel a lot of the things that I would be hoping to feel. I think that as far as like traditional horror is concerned and what you would be expecting to get out of it, you know, it was like the perfect combination of expecting and unexpecting. And I also think that in this movie, they did a really good job kind of playing off of cues and making fun of themselves in a way that, you know, it was just deprecating enough at points where it was appropriate, and it helped enhance the film. All in all, I definitely enjoyed it. I think that it is well worth a watch. I think that everyone should not be like me and enjoy films 1 through 4 first and then go on to enjoy number 5, because what better way to see them than in succession, especially all at once. I really wish I would have had the opportunity to do that. But overall, I would definitely say that everything fundamentally from the ground up, from the lighting to the music to the camera work to the acting, all of it was on par and very well done. And I'm excited to really dive into the nitty-gritty into the spoiler section. Dillon, what are your general thoughts, my dearest friend, on this milestone movie for you?
My general thoughts, let's see how I can get through this, because I feel like there's so much I want to say, and it's already like 1 o'clock in the morning. So, I think Scream is not a perfect movie. Like, Scream 2022 is not a perfect movie. There is some things that I do wish they would have done more of, or just have done, and then there's some things I wish they would have not done, just throughout the film, just different things. But that being said, I think it is way better of a film than it is bad. By no means do I think this film is bad at all. I think if you're a Scream fan, you're going to absolutely love this. I think if you're a horror movie fan, I think you're going to absolutely love this. I think that this Scream is ruthless. It's the darkest Scream, I feel. Maybe the first one is definitely dark, but I think there was a lot more comedy in the first one than this one. I think this is the darkest one, and it shows. Like, Ghostface seems scarier. His costume seems like it even changed a little bit. Like, he just seems more full and bigger, and like the clothing material is more raggedy, but still put together. The kills, there's a lot gorier than any of the other films. And like, I know, like, in the first movie you have some guts and stuff like that. I don't know if there's really guts in this one, as there is just a lot of blood, but there's just some kills that make you feel uncomfortable, just like, ooh. And like I said, Ghostface is just ruthless. He is not afraid to get down and dirty anywhere. Like, it'll shock you the amount of times where you're just like, wow, I was not expecting that. Just not even from Ghostface, but just in general. Like, I just think it's very well written. I think, like, as far as it's very meta, and that's how Scream has always been. It's self-aware. They know what they're making, and they're like, seeing it a second time. I just keep picking up more stuff, and then reading more what people are saying online. I pick up more things that are like thrown in there to play to honor Wes, or like play homage to, is that the word again? Homage? Oh, okay. Play homage to like the original, the other 4 Scream films, and just like throwing in stuff. It's there for previous, audience members, and it's there for new audience members, and it's great. The sets look amazing. So I have to say that this is worth a watch for anybody even remotely interested. I think this is the promotional crew, staff, whatever. Like, the promotion for this film is the biggest it's ever been. And it goes to show, like, I don't want to see it stop. I'm just like, everything I see on Facebook is Scream, Twitter. It's just everywhere. Like, posters all over.
You don't usually see horror that much in the mainstream, so it's just super duper nice to actually, see a prolific silver screen serial killer popping up as much as, it is right now. It's a lot of fun.
It's crazy to me that, like, Scream 4 didn't do too well, because there was supposed to be a 5 and 6 right after.
Oh.
Kevin Williamson, the one that wrote Scream 1 and 2, said what his write-up was, what he was going to do for Scream 5 and 6. Which that sounds like it would have been fun too, but it's interesting. I'm kind of glad we went this route, because I think we would have lost Wes in between those, and it wouldn't have worked as well. I think that this ended up landing at a time that it needed to be there, where horror is big right now. Slashers are big, and not just like funny, but like scary slashers, Michael Myers and stuff.
Yeah, we're in a weird time. weird time because it seems like as the years progress, people are getting numb to what has pushed the boundaries previously, and now are continuing to push the bounds even further. But I love, fucking damn it, get us into the spoiler section, you fuck.
What? Oh, okay.
Get us going.
All right.
Send us in there.
My general thoughts, it's great. Go watch it.
Yes, welcome at long last to the spoiler section where everything goes and everyone knows. And for those who don't, you will now.
So please, if you have not watched Scream 2022, please, I beg you, stop this. Not out of all the films that we've reviewed so far, this one, please stop. Go watch it before you listen, because the whodunit is one of the biggest things in the Scream film, and do it before it gets out there, because it's just so fun trying to figure out who it is.
Yeah, people have been real good about that online, about keeping this movie under wraps and not giving anything away.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that I see, but only because I already know the outcome. But if I didn't, I might not have known. But I also try to avoid the internet for, before I watched it for a couple days. This will also be a spoiler for Screams 1 through 5, all of them. If you have not watched them for any of the Screams, stop it now and go watch.
So starting right off of the bat, what I was saying about the IMDb brief description, I just think that it's silly that they put Sidney Prescott was like gonna be the one who gets down to business and figures all this shit out. It kind of feels like, I mean, she did more than I expected her to do in this movie, because I truthfully felt like that phone call that she had with Dewey, that was going to be the only appearance that she had in the movie. That they really had me believe in that.
Really? Okay.
They did for sure. I really thought, I was like, oh, you cheap fucks, just squeezing it in there a little bit, just to kind of just to see her face and get kind of that nostalgic feeling, the close face shot and the nice music in the background, all that. So she definitely did more in the film than I expected her to, but I feel like the marketing and the advertising and the titles and the descriptions were a little bit misleading as far as, how much everyone was actually going to be involved.
See, I think it's right where I thought it was going to be, because
you definitely thought that they were going to be hacking and slashing everybody off. So that was one thing that it wasn't as much as you had expected it to be.
Yeah, I thought they were either going to die off or just not be in it too much. Like kind of like what you said. I thought it was going to be a little less. I know that in this film, it's supposed to be like a prequel, sequel, but it's like a new trilogy. If this went well, it's going to be like a new trilogy where another 2 films will probably come after it or something like that. And it's like a passing of the torch, where we're trying to almost close this chapter on Nev and Gale and all them, and go into, if they do show up, it might be like a voice or a phone call or something really minor in the future films, and now it will be passed on to the survivors of this film, the kids, you know what I mean? And that's what the 4th one was supposed to do as well, but it kind of like, with them still being in it throughout, but I think the main characters are now going to be the kids.
Yeah, and I think that they'll get away with that.
Yeah.
I think that they performed this well enough, and it didn't have like a super shitty ending or anything like that, that I think it'll be a solid transition. Like the viewership will be a pretty smooth transition. You'll probably lose a lot of people, but not enough for it to be, for them to not be like, I think we could probably get a 3 out of this.
Yeah.
I think that they'll get enough into the sequel of this, because on IMDb, in one of the sub hyperlinks or whatever, in parentheses next to this Scream is the one in Roman numerals. Like I could see that it looks like they're already having things typed up as if there's going to be more than just this one. So I'm definitely under the impression, based on what you were saying too, that there's definitely going to be more films after this coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. The numbers are still amazing, and it seems like it's getting so many good reviews. It's not just about the numbers at this point. It's also about the ratings, and the ratings are blowing my mind.
Yeah, did you see any like actual critics? Were you seeing, because usually the actual critics on horror movies are rough. Like
I didn't see the actual
they
critics.
fucking
but
kick it to the ground and then they stick the boot in the mouth and make them fucking bite on it. It's crazy. Critics are so rough on horror films.
But they're doing good. That's what's crazy. Like, it's even the critics are doing good. Like, Metascore is 61 right now, which that's not terrible.
Not for a horror film.
I mean, that's probably what the lowest one, but that's not terrible. No, exactly. An R-rated horror film too.
It's no Zombievers, that's for damn sure.
Jesus, that's throwing that back there.
I think about that movie every day.
Why?
Just like Nick Chittle thinks about the movie Tire every day.
Why?
He fucking loves that stupid movie, dude. I don't know.
And do you love Zombievers?
No.
Oh, did you watch it with me? I thought it was Nathan.
No, I didn't. It was Nathan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Any memory that you remember having fun or laughing? It probably wasn't with me.
It was Nathan?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we start the beginning of Scream with a very similar setup, kind of like the first Scream with Drew Barrymore, with a phone call.
I was going to ask, did they ever do that in any other film, or was it just the first one?
So this film is the first time, again, spoilers, this is the first film out of the Scream that there was not an actual death at the beginning of the film.
Ah, yes.
And she even mentions that. Tara mentions on the phone, like, oh yeah, that's the one where like all of them always die at the beginning or something like that. And then this one, they prove that they don't now. They're trying to break the rules a little bit, trying to change it up, which at first I didn't like. The second viewing, I liked more.
I like that instead of answering, she hung up. Like she just hit the instead of just picking up right away, she hit the. I was like, oh.
Yeah, because people don't answer the phones anymore. They text. But then once it became like a very like kept on happening, she's like, all right, I guess. Well, obviously text too.
Okay, so they didn't have a scene like that, like an opening scene like that in any of the other ones.
The first one was Drew Barrymore. It was exactly like that pretty much at first, and then she played the trivia, and then her boyfriend's out there who got gutted and stuff, and then she got chased next. Best opening.
Yeah. Speaking of that opening, while we're on it, did you know that was actually Drew Barrymore's idea?
Yes, because she was supposed to play Sidney Prescott.
She was supposed to be Sydney, yeah. And she came up with that idea, and how fucking
it would have been crazy.
Humble is that?
Yeah.
How humble is that of her to just like come up with an idea and
like Psycho
love it so
almost.
much that she's like willing to gut her own wallet for the sake of a film.
Yep.
You know what I mean? For an idea. It's crazy.
Or maybe but also she could have had the thought like, oh, it's Scream. Like she doesn't know at that point Scream was not going to be like, they didn't think Scream was going to be big. They didn't know what they were going to have from this. You know what I mean? So she could have also looked at like it wasn't going to be much, and then it became this huge thing. She's probably like, oh my God. But she still had a great career even after that. And she has her own show, and she just had all these cast on the last few weeks and stuff. And it's been really fun watching that and her recapping with like the times.
Yeah. She's got a perfect little bubbly personality to have her own little talk show.
So again, the first movie, she died, that whole call was pretty much the same. And the second one was that they were at a movie theater, and then, the killer is dressed in the outfit in front of everyone, and that is about sequels. The second movie is about sequels and doing better, and trying to surpass the original. And then the third one is the beginning was kind of like going back to one of the main characters from the second one, and that was the surprise kill. And then the fourth one was all those fake kills, like the stab movies within the stab movies, and then the last one was the actual movie. So this is the first one that someone actually didn't die, which I thought she was dead at first. I was like, oh, she is dead. The way Ghostface stabs everyone and anyone, ruthless, man. Just stab, 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 stab.
Yeah, you just want to talk about this fucking guy real quick? Like,
yeah.
He is on a new level of ruthless.
I love his outfit too. He looks so nice. Like it doesn't, some people look
sleek.
Yes, sometimes they look like, some people think they all look the same, but they don't. And this one definitely doesn't. It looks more like it has more hoodedness to it. He does look a little bit bulkier. He's got more strands of like cloth hanging down, and the way he stands and just carries himself. He's ruthless.
And what I love too is they gave him so much screen time. Like they you know what I mean? Like they really let it milk out a little bit in instances where most of the time it's always like boom, bang, bang, blam, blast, bye. And it's just, or it's like in parts where it's like, you know, you're just still building suspense. Not when you're fucking in the grit of it. And they really like pretty much any moment that Ghostface was involved in was executed nearly perfectly. I loved how they filmed him. I loved how he looked. The one thing that you mentioned earlier in the non-spoiler section was one thing that took it to a whole new level. Was like, you know, in a lot of these films, all the violence kind of has a point where there's a threshold in people where you can kind of handle it. And in this movie, I would probably say more than half of the killings, they push that threshold. They linger. They stab more.
It hurts. It looks like it hurts.
And it goes on so much that you're like, holy fuck, like, because it goes on for long enough that you actually internally feel gross for watching it as long as you are, because it starts to feel real for how long that it goes on for.
Yeah.
And you start to feel that like kind of empty pit in your stomach just long enough to it fucked me up a little bit. Some of the like just like how violent and how vicious and how stabby it was. It was dark. It was very, very dark. And it was mostly it was just how long they lingered. It was that extra couple seconds that they would pull.
Yeah, exactly. Where it just kept on sitting on that. Or, I'll say there's a lot of neck kills in this movie, though. Like, I think they could have done a little bit different kills. I think there's a lot of neck kills. But I will say the blood looks so good. The thing that I didn't like, though, that I wish we had more of, is I feel like Ghostface just kind of was like always popping out. There wasn't a lot of actually chase scenes. The only real chase scene we had, I think, with Ghostface was when Tara was in the wheelchair in the hospital by herself, kind of like trying to scoot away, and he's just walking behind her slowly. It
wasn't even really a chase, right? It was definitely intimidating.
Yeah, which was scary as fuck. Like, he's always scary, and that's the thing. The way he tilts his head and the way he moves, he's just so more menacing and so more theatrical, almost more reserved in a way where he knows he has time to do stuff, you know, or whatever, so he doesn't always have to move fast. But I do like that Scream moves fast most of the time, because that's what makes him scary too. Like when he does chase,
and he's always falling.
Always falling.
There's like always fucking Crisco on the floor underneath him. Somehow.
Always falling, or somebody hits him.
That was one thing I was gonna say about Ghostface. Is like the clumsiest fucking killer.
You should see him on some of the other ones. This is less than some of the other ones. Like this one.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like I remember in the other films, like for some reason I just remember this is like the one killer that's always like whoa, always falling back. But for some reason it's still scary as fuck when he gets back up and he's like, all right, I'm back. I'm gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
Whoa, 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 whoa. All right.
And just the way he would stare into people's souls.
That mask and the body language, like whoever the physical actor.
Yeah.
Of the character, the body language was great, because that's what's so important about these people that are just doing the body work of the people that they aren't doing the speaking for.
Exactly, because you don't have. Yeah.
There's just one part that I laughed out. I like tried hard not to laugh out loud.
Please let it be the same thing I was just about to say. Was it the candlestick thing?
Oh, it's when he kills Wes.
Oh.
When he's like looking at him, and one of the points he like tilts and goes back like this. Ghostface, like when he's looking at him, because the first thing that I laughed at was when Wes got scared by Ghostface.
Oh.
So funny how he looked when he got scared there. Fucking hilarious. It was funny to me because of how real it actually looked, that he was scared as much as he was. Because he was like, like it looked like he literally pissed his pants right then and there.
Yeah.
But when Ghostface stabs him in the neck, which that wasn't my favorite, because it looked like it was barely in his neck, like he just slivered the outside of his skin. And I was like, that didn't kill you.
But it still looked like it hurt, dude.
Oh, for sure.
But it's still, I was like sitting there grabbing my neck the whole time. Like that was one of the kills that like got me like freaking out because it sat too long.
It should have been in the middle of the throat.
Yeah.
I don't like that they did the side of it. It seems silly.
I think it was deep enough. But
it looked cool.
Like I like that you could see it from the other side. And the way when he moved, it like slid, like his neck slid onto the back and forth onto that knife. It wasn't just like it sat there and they didn't move at all. Like it slid in and out.
Do you think that was like an extra patch of fake skin that they went through?
I think it was digital.
You think it was all digital?
Yeah, I think that's probably digital. They had some digital things I noticed, but it was still pretty good.
Yeah, I was wondering, but I wasn't sure.
After I think he pulled the knife out or something like that. Maybe I'm getting confused with Halloween Kills because I just rewatched it. It just came out the Blu-ray.
Oh, Jesus. So many murderers.
Oh, my God. Okay, yeah. Honestly, I'm going to actually scrap that because it could have been Halloween Kills now that had like a blood that looked CGI when they pulled it out of somebody. But it still looked good. It was still like...
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, but when the other thing that made me laugh was when they go, and it takes a long time for them to get all the way down to the ground. And he's dying, and Ghostface is like, tilting his head a little bit, looking at him, and he goes in this way. But then when they really get down there, he turns his head this way, and then for some reason, like, goes back, like he's like looking at him, and like kind of goes like.
I don't think I noticed that.
Like, you'll have to see it. You'll the next time that you watch it, I hope that you'll see what I'm talking about, even though I'm not.
I hope not if it's funny, because I like it's creepier.
But it's the way that he like tilts his head back, and like it wasn't creepy. It was funny because it was just a movement that was kind of the way that the mask looked when looking at him looked like something that I would do if I was goofing off after we got a good take.
Okay, well, I think that the funny part for me was with him. I don't know if you noticed this at the party scene after some shit goes down, and like I think when Scream first comes out after like the whole. Look behind you scene with Mindy. So he ran, like, Sam comes in and she has like that candlestick or a lamp or something in her hand, and like she runs by Scream, and Scream almost is like, oh no, don't get near me with it. Like he almost like puts his hands up. It almost feels like I don't know. He just looks like he was like quivering at it and like ran away. Like that part to me made me laugh.
I didn't see that. I didn't notice that.
But other than that, I thought he was great.
All in all, just like for the same reasons that I enjoyed Halloween Kills is the same reason so far as to why I liked Scream, was because they did a great job with the killer. The kills, for the most part, I think the kills were better in I think the kills overall were better in Halloween Kills, for sure.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. But
they're more creative.
But all in all, I would say that they're on the same kind of wavelength as far as, one giant aspect as to what is making me lean more towards really liking this film.
Yeah, I think this film has a way better story, and I like this film more than Halloween Kills. I think Halloween Kills, though, like you said, I think has more creative deaths, and just he seems even like Michael seems even scarier. I think Michael seems the scariest he's ever been in any of the films, but at the same thing, I think Scream seems the scariest than he has been in any of the other films. So I think they both reached like their peak moments at like maybe who knows, it might even get scarier, but at this point in time, I think they live in the universe where they are the scariest right now that they've ever been for both killers.
Which, I mean, is such an important aspect because when I go to these movies, I'm sure as well as many others, that's the most important thing to me. Like, and obviously getting a good story and making sure that it's a great film is, what's going to set it aside from all the other horror movies and put it amongst the greats. But I don't know if it was the time that I was raised in or if I just always was. As I was growing up, I just really got into individual characters and their stories and what they are and how they develop and watching them change over all the years. I don't know if it's that or what, but the most important aspect in these types of movies to me is the killer and how objectively the killer is in each new film.
Okay, so Tara's there alone, gets a phone call, and this is where the technology comes in with the phones, the new technology, because we had some new technology in 4, but now we have new technology with the whole locking system, how like everything is intertwined.
My mind changed so fast from, oh, that's fucking awesome to, ooh, that's not awesome at all. That really sucks.
It's crazy.
That really sucks.
It's like what's your reinforcement of security is gone.
Yeah, it went from like being the best idea ever to, oh, that probably actually isn't as good as it seems like it is. Like how easy it is to get your phone fucking ghosted or hacked or whatever they said that it was. What
I would have liked to have seen though, when Tara was in the house and she kept on getting unlock lock situation. When she was watching the front door, I wanted it instead of like her waiting and then the phone rings again and she like freaks out. I wanted it to almost say back door open or something like that. But you don't see the back door yet. You just hear it and she's already in the front and you have like dark rooms where the door is. So since she's like almost has to make her way back there. And then even maybe then he can eventually call that could be the jump scare then. It's just like a little added thing I wish they would have done is like back door open.
There were a few ineffective scares for sure.
Yes, I agree.
As there are in pretty much all horror movies, but these ones were a little bit more painful than, like kind of like
yeah.
You really tried that there, like there could have been better placement for that. But it's funny because the second viewing of the film was so weird because there were places where people found humor that I wouldn't have seen that in the first viewing. I didn't see it as humorous.
Give me an example.
Like what I'm thinking of it now in the section that we're talking about. People thought that it was funny the way that she had to keep like relocking. Like they thought that her.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's.
They thought that her.
Not,
they thought that her acting was, her being scared, but kind of in a comedic way with the locking and unlocking with the phone. People thought that was actually kind of funny, and I didn't think it was funny until I heard people laughing at it.
Wow, that's weird. No, I never interpreted that as being funny though.
It's weird because when I was hearing it, it made sense.
Yeah, like the audience made you feel like, oh, okay, I could see how that could have been funny then.
Like it was still scary, but there was like a little bit of comic relief in the, in it all. Maybe because of how relatable that it is. I'm not sure. I'm too middle class to have locks like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, I don't need an app to lock my doors for that reason. So then Ghostface, asks her all these questions about the stab movies, and I loved her reaction when she's like, "Ask me anything else, like the Babadook or like the more like artsy horror, which are great too." But it's just funny how like that is where the generation lives now, And so it's funny that she's like, I don't know about stab. That's
Show me horror that means something.
That's an old movie. That's a 90s movie. Everyone's hair is weird. So, but I love when he's like, first question, who is the main character in Stab or something like that, he says. And she just like, like opens her mouth like, oh my God, we're really doing this kind of stuff. I like, that was funny to me when she did that. But, and then I love how they show her like looking it up on her phone, like the answers and stuff. That was fun. And then, I think
people were thinking that she cussed too much.
Oh yeah, like when she's in the hospital, she said, "Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out now!"
Yeah. They just thought that that Tara just said "fuck" too much throughout the whole film.
I think a lot of people said "fuck" just randomly.
Like it was just excessive. Nah, but for like her specifically, like a lot of people were just like, Jesus Christ, like enough with the fucks already. Like you're just saying "fuck" like every other line she was saying "fuck," and I mean I kind of agreed. Like it kind of started to get obvious. Like I started to notice after a while that I was like, Jesus, she's saying every time she speaks, she's saying "fuck" twice. Or
yeah, no, I agree. It makes it less effective.
Yeah, it just becomes a word then.
Yeah,
might as well say "moogle gosh kooky boop boop boop." Same fucking shit.
Or you could just say "fuck."
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll stick with "fuck" then, because the other one was too hard. When Tara answers the question after the whole door thing happens, after she gets cut in the stomach, I like how, which I was not expecting him to be like right there at first, I guess, the first viewing, when she went to run out. I thought maybe she would at least got outside a little bit more, which that was cool. But I love how he asked her, "Do you think I'm inside?" Huh? Like that was a cool question. And then he like didn't even really give her time. Boom, he shows up, and when he they do a little scuffle, and oh my God, when he stabs her in the freaking hand, and that's where the CGI was. When he stabbed her in the hand or whatever, and she had the blood, it showed like blood dripping off the knife, and it would have landed on her face, but it didn't show any blood on her face.
Yeah, I can't believe that. I can't believe that she survived that. And we get to a point in the movie when we're getting towards like the 3/4 mark to the end, where I'm like, she is doing shit that she should not be able to be doing
she's
right
so
now.
Fucked up.
It was like it reminded me of Fear Street 1978 when Alice was doing shit that was like super unrealistic. I'm just like, okay, why are people getting hurt and then not acting like they're like? Because out of most movies I was ever seeing, I gave her the most credit, because in the hospital when she decides to say fuck it and get up and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, goes in that wheelchair and does all
bleeding
that
and her
shit,
hands bleeding
she
and everything.
acts the most realistic of her actually doing those things in pain than what most actors tend to do.
Yeah.
You know, in situations where they've been hurt and they have to, you know, stick to the fucking continuity of being hurt. I understand that it's hard, just as much as it's hard to pretend like there's a fucking full cup of coffee when it's an empty
Exactly.
mug. Yeah, it's
Well, that's
not
acting.
not easy, but that is acting.
101.
So it was really, it was so satisfying because that's the first thing I was waiting for was like, this is going to be very underplayed pain after watching her be totally brutalized. So it would have just, it really would have been hard for me to continue through the movie and enjoy it if that was going to get fucked up. Like if she was going to brush over that.
But she almost did brush over it by the end. Yeah. She's kind of like, I'm on crutches now when I was just in a wheelchair.
She wasn't kicking anybody's ass. Yeah, she's not. No, absolutely not. She got her fucking. I mean, Jesus Christ, Ghostface in those fucking giant mud kicking boots, those thick fucking steel toe boots that he wears, crushed her ankle,
Broke her leg.
smashed it.
Yeah.
Just totally smashed it.
Yeah. Gross.
Just fucking hopping around like nothing. At one point, you know, like I said, they stuck pretty well to it up and towards the end when the whodunit situation starts to really unravel itself, which is when shit starts to get kind of fucky and you're like, okay, who was where and when and how did you get there?
Yeah.
And here and this, it starts to feel like they're kind of pushing it a little bit when they were like, okay, it's got a little fuzzy. I was like, okay, it's definitely realistic, but you barely made it. You know, it was like they had ideas A, B, C, D, E, and F. And for some reason, they decided to go with A, which was the one that involved the most shit going on.
So another thing I didn't really like was the fact that the character development in this film wasn't like... I wish I would have known the characters more, like the new cast.
It was very teased.
Yeah.
Because they make you feel like you got to know them a lot better than you actually did.
By the second time, I felt like I knew them a little bit better, but the first time I was just like, I really don't know these people. But by the second time, I liked them a lot more. Like I liked their characters more, and I couldn't wait to see them.
For the first time around, it took until David Arquette kind of swooped up on the screen and started being more of a main role in the film for me to really be invested in it, like deeply invested, because he did really well in this film. I think that he did really, really well. I think that how much they decided to incorporate him, especially, was super pivotal and important as to how this film turned out. I think that if they would have taken any other route than what they did, it wouldn't have turned out as well as it did. I think that because he kind of ended up becoming a lot more of a main character than I would have expected him to.
And I think, like you said, I think his acting was good. I think Nev's was really good. I think hers was really good.
Yeah.
Compared
Absolutely.
to some of her other ones.
She was like the embodiment. Yeah, she was the embodiment of a grown.
Yeah,
Sidney
like somebody who's
Prescott,
been through it and
for
is like,
sure.
you know what? I just want to do this right now, get it over with, because I got to go back to my kids.
Do you have a gun?
Yeah, I'm fucking Sidney, or what you say? I'm Sidney Prescott.
I'm Sidney fucking Prescott. Of course I have a fucking gun or something like that. Yeah.
Of course I've got a gun, yeah.
So, and the music that they decided to play specifically with her too, like something about it just made her feel extra
Well,
special.
since we're in the music part of it, sorry, I'm eating a Pop-Tart, but since we're in the music,
Don't spill the Pop-Tart.
what's funny is, or not funny, but with the music, and especially like, that is actually like her theme, like Sydney's theme. You know, just like Dewey, they had his theme. You didn't notice it?
No, it didn't stand out to me as much.
It's when he goes, like when he shows up after he said he wasn't going to help them, and he shows up at that porch in his truck. He pulls up in his truck, and he's like, I'm going to help. It's like, boom, no, 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 no. I can't even do it now, but like,
Dum, 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 dum.
either way, so they have that, and then they had Red Right Hand playing in the car when that guy was Vince, the bad guy, whatever. Like the you see him for like 2 seconds.
Short-lived dick douche.
Yeah. He was barely in there, but that Red Right Hand was playing on there. So you have all three of those songs that were in like the first like 3 Screams. And the fourth
Okay.
one didn't have all that. That was kind of missing. That's what kind of sucked about Scream 4 when it came to that. It's like, but this one really remembered where its roots came from and put them in there. And I'm like, I was missing that music note. I was missing that song there where it needed to be.
No way in hell I would have picked that up. So that's interesting though that I really liked the music that was behind Sydney because it was very fitting for her.
Yeah. That's her theme.
It was like very calming yet very courageous and heroic sounding all at the same time.
I wish you're gonna have to listen to Dewey's sound too, so you know. But I listened to the soundtrack, I think, on the way to the second viewing, and then I think today I listened to a lot of it. But hearing it's, aside from the movie too, it's just like, wow, this is pretty good, especially because it's not Marco Beltrami. So he did the music for, I believe, the first 3 Screams, maybe even the fourth one. I don't remember. I think, but he did a lot of the Screams, just like Kevin Williams. It was very important to the Scream series. But he didn't do this one. He's the one who did the music for Fear Streets. That's why I said it sounded like Scream. But I will say that whoever did the music for this one definitely had the same sounds, the same kind of music that we would have gotten from like what he would have created almost from like the previous films, but then also just kind of enhanced it and made it like darker and like bigger, more involved.
For the most part, I definitely enjoyed the music. There were a couple places that fell short for me. I felt like there were a few parts where I was like, where is the thing I was expecting to be hearing or feeling at this moment? There were a couple moments where it fell flat or felt empty or was too much. But other than that, it definitely sounded sick as fuck.
Yeah, I agree.
I really did enjoy it. Everything turned out really, really well with that. Mm-hmm. Also, one thing that I really liked in the opening scene that I forgot about was how the timing of the police like perfectly showing up right when she's fucking sitting there at the front door with bleeding out and stuff with Ghostface standing over her. We didn't mention in the very beginning. We didn't mention the police all showing up at the very end. And that shot from behind Ghostface while she's laying on the floor and they're showing the front of the house from the inside when all the police show up in the beginning.
I don't remember that.
Because remember, she calls the police and she's like, "The police are on their way, you motherfucker."
The opening scene with Tara.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember any police.
Yeah. She calls the police and she says, "The police are on their way, you motherfucker." And right after she was done, after Tara was done being stabbed, and the very last shot before they kick to the actual beginning of the movie, it's a shot behind Ghostface standing over top of Tara, showing the front windows and door of the house with all the police lights.
I thought
like glowing on him and on the inside of the house.
You might have watched a different version because I remember seeing where she screams like he's stabbing her or whatever, and he like first off he says, "We're gonna play the game. Don't call the police. Don't do all this other stuff." So she was going to call the police, and then he sent like a message right across it, so she didn't end up finishing 911. She only said 9. I dialed 9. And then he's, at this point when he's in there, he's stabbing her, and then like he goes to stab her someplace, I don't know where, almost like it was like her end one, and then that's when she like screams or something happens, or he like raises it and goes to go down, and that's when the Scream logo pops up, like right when the stab happens.
And that's the end?
Yeah, I don't remember.
That's all you saw?
I don't remember any like lights on the house.
That's crazy. Whoa. Because in the film that I watched twice.
Did she actually talk to him on the phone?
No, but they show up at the end, right? I can't believe you didn't see this shot because this was one of my favorite shots of the whole movie. The same thing that I've said 2 other times with the cameras behind Ghostface in that front, in that area there that they're at where she was getting stabbed and shit. And she's fucking laying there all fucking bloodied up and shit, and he's looking down at her, and you can see the front, and you can see all the police lights and shit right at the front door.
Well, I remember, when she's reaching at the front door, and the police lights are going, and he pulls her back.
You don't remember police lights and shit?
Maybe when she was grabbing at the door, but I don't remember like a silhouette of the killer or anything, but maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. So now we are introduced to Sam, which is supposedly supposed to be the new, the torch is being passed to her. She's the new Sydney.
I was so confused about their age.
Yeah.
Were they in college? Were they in high school? Which one was it? Because they were at a bar at one point.
That's what, and I wrote that in my notes too. I'm like, why are these high school kids at a bar? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Because it didn't seem like a place where you just go to play pool, like a pool hall. Like, it definitely seemed like it was a fucking bar. All the neon lights, and it's dark and small.
But there's definitely high school.
It was weird. It didn't really feel set because all the places that they were at didn't feel very high school.
No, well, they only showed them at a bar and a bench outside.
And then at the beginning, they were at that gas station when Sam and Richie were working at that gas station or whatever the fuck it is, the little retail store.
Well, they're older. I think they're older. They're not in high school anymore, and they probly would be in.
That's right.
Because she used to babysit them, remember?
So the students are obviously all. That makes sense. I was getting a little.
Tara's
the
age.
bar is just what fucked me up.
Yeah. No, that was definitely weird. It was stupid almost. But yeah, so Sam and Wes are actually working at, I think, like a bowling alley in another part of California.
That makes sense. It looked like that. Either old school fucking shitty gas station or weird bowling alley clothes. Yeah.
And she ends up taking a pill. It shows her taking a pill, and then Richie comes out and he's like, I forgot what he asked her. It's my boner. Or it's your boner pill. It's your bone. He said, like, she's saying it to Wes, or I'm sorry, she's saying it to Richie, like, it's your boner pill. Like, she took your boner pill, and then he's like, you're my boner pills.
And when he said that, I was like, oh God, I'm gonna hate everything they wrote for this guy. But then when he kind of broke and was like, nah, I was like, okay. I'm like, all right.
It was weird. Yeah,
it
was like, yeah, I like that.
But that's what they do throughout this whole movie.
And that's the thing too. In this film, they did so many decisions. Yeah, like they're like, let's just leave. Let's get the fuck out of this hospital. Let's leave town. Let's do, and then just something else just runs into their way that just counteracts that. And that's why I love to see let's just do this, but then somehow they make it impossible.
It was a lot of things that felt like it was breaking away and then somehow magically looped right back into what was the story itself. That was cool. They also it felt so relevant for some reason. This movie it felt like it referenced more pop culture, mainstream kind of things than a lot of movies typically do that, kind of combined our reality with the movie's reality. How they're, talking about Psycho and they're talking about, Jamie fucking Lee Curtis and, it's not, just Halloween, all that stuff. They kept mentioning all of those things. It made me feel even more connected to the movie. Because I don't remember if they made, like you said, they must have made references like that in previous films. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of the films. It's just, I mean, they're always, since the first one, it's always been like they've always been meta. They've always been self-aware, and they realize the reality they live in, and it's almost like Scream's the real world and everywhere else is not. Like all the other horror movies and stuff are not, but Scream is like really happening. Trying to feel like that's in our universe, while Stab would be in another like that would be the movie we would be watching. It just so happens that Scream's in our universe, and Stab would be the actual movie of it. Situations like that.
Screamception,
exactly.
So Sam gets the unprecedented call from Wes, the boy that Sam used to babysit back in the day, that also happens to be Sheriff Hicks, who you all remember's new son. Well, not new, but it's new to us. New son, Wes. And he calls into her because obviously now, formerly known as Deputy, now Sheriff Hicks, since he's the son, he would be the first one to know, who calls directly to Sam to say, hey, your little sister that you abandoned many moons ago is in serious condition.
She's been stabbed.
Yeah, she has
by
been,
somebody in a ghost mask.
She has been stabbed by someone in a Ghostface mask. So, she immeditely gets kind of tripped out by that, and she says to her boyfriend Richie, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this shit's happened. I gotta go." And he immediately starts kind of playing like the perfect boyfriend, just like, no, I'm gonna be with you on this one. I'm gonna be there for you.
So then Sam gets to the hospital with Richie. Richie and Sam get to the hospital and they talk to, introduce all the other cast members, you could say, and how I guess she used to babysit these kids when they were younger. Well, Sam has everyone leave the hospital. First off, who's Amber's and Sam's mom? They always mention her, but we never get to see her. I wonder if we're gonna like find out who she is eventually.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because all they really do, and that was weird about Amber. Was it just felt like Amber was the whole movie? It kind of felt like she was just this wandering person. Like, who was she associated with? Anybody at all?
I didn't like her. She was friends with Tara.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, outside of that, everybody else kind of had, besides Liv, lived in who was Liv associated with? Anybody, or was she was just Chad's girlfriend?
Probably that Chad's. I mean, just everyone knew. Like just like Chad and Mindy, they both knew Liv, and then I'm sure like just because they're all a clique.
For some reason, something seemed extra rogue about Amber, other than just being Tara's friend.
Maybe she was more of a new girl because remember they got that house, Stu's house.
I felt something off about Amber the whole movie. I don't know about you, but something to me felt weird about her the whole time.
I didn't like her that much. I wasn't a big fan.
Like her acting, or just her character.
She just something about her. She just kind of irritated me.
Oh, like the way that Alice irritated you, or in a different way?
Oh, from Fear Street. Almost, but different. There's a point though where I didn't mind her as much, but definitely throughout a lot of it, I was just like, ugh. But there's then she's had that funny line like, "Come on, Netflix, like let's go." Was kind of funny to me.
Yeah, there was definitely some playful shit throughout the movie where, because of the way that they wrote the dialogue, that was what really sold it on the whodunit kind of aspect of it. The following people around and where they were at certain moments and who was talking to who when and how they were acting and stuff like that. That was way too hard of a read for me, because it got a little messy here and there. But the dialogue is what actually made it super difficult to be like, fuck, who, why, who would it be, why would it be? And then there was only one. I ruled out Mindy for sure. I had to rule out Mindy for sure because she was the niece of the guy who knew all things horror and all the rules and how to act.
Who died on Scream 2.
And yeah, very sad. R.I.P. So her being that person, they would have went on like a super left road if they would have went with her. So I eliminated her right away, that she would be the killer.
I liked her.
Yeah, I did too, and she's actually in one of those TV shows on
Yellow
Showtime
Jackets.
that I'm watching. Yeah, and it's funny because she had lesbian interaction in both series, so it seems that she's one of the younger actresses that are open to same-sex relations on film.
So there's like gay references throughout because Kevin Williamson, the writer of Scream 1 and 2, is gay, and he's the one who like wrote Dawson's Creek and everything like that, and. So, Scream 2 kind of mentions that like one of the bodyguards is gay. That's about as far as that goes. And then I think they make like a little joke saying something like, "Don't ask, don't tell." So there's that. And then they're in Scream 4. Charlie says that he's gay, which whether he was or not, we're not sure. It's just maybe so the killer didn't kill him because that was one of the rules that you pretty much have to be gay to not, to survive, which that's not true anymore. This is the first movie out of the Scream series that introduces an actual like out gay character. So like somebody that like it's just made out with that woman. You know what I mean? Like it's first representation, I think, and this is the first one.
Another relevant reference that I missed when Chad called his biceps Hob and Shaw.
It's supposed to be like that. Wasn't that like the
Fast and Furious shit?
Yeah. That's what I thought. Which I'm like that's probably gonna age to the point where in a couple of years people are like, "What's that again?" Because it was only one movie. You know what I mean?
No, it won't, because they're just going to keep on referencing them in more Fast and the Furious movies in the future until they get to Fast and 30.
Oh, Jesus. I guess you're not too wrong on that situation.
Was there anybody that you kind of had your like kind of hopping between or had your finger on at all in the movie? Did you think that it might have been Tara? Did you think?
I thought Tara at one point, but she was also attacked, but Tara.
How fucking crazy would that be if that was a setup the whole time? Like, she got herself that, like, how fucked up would you have to be to let yourself get that messed up?
Scream 4.
Bingo.
Jill in Scream 4, she like practically kills herself almost, like attacks herself to look like she was a victim. So I was like, it's the same situation. I honestly did not know. I kind of went back and forth. I didn't think it was Vince. I thought it was Wes, Dillon Minette. I thought that he was going to be the killer for a while. A lot of people like kind of kept on spoiling stuff, and I was like, oh, it's him. So when he jumped forward, when he died right away, I was like, whoa, okay, that was unexpected. But there's a lot of deaths on this that I was just like, whoa, I was not expecting that.
No, there was a lot more killing in this movie than I expected there to be. Like, there was really no... Ghostface was very, very involved in this movie. I feel like he was more involved in this movie than the other ones from what I remember. Like, it felt like there was no more than maybe 10 to 15 minutes that went by without seeing him on the screen.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, that's what I was going to say too. Like, his appearances weren't just in the dark or at night. It was like daylight, right there out in the public. I'm just like, whoa, we're right there in the hospital. Just like, you know, like, show yourself or whatever she said, and he just like pops up from behind the door like, whoa, like, you're right here where everyone can see you if they just walked in and you don't care. That's what made him scary.
How did you feel when Ghostface came after Chad? First part and second part. Start with the first part with the phone tracking, and then the second part for when he catches him.
Oh, okay. Wow, we're really jumping up there. Why that question?
Because I got Ghostfaced on the mind. This is all the good stuff.
Okay. Chad, I liked it. I liked the track motion thing.
Like the setup? You like that setup?
Yeah, I liked he's coming up.
I thought it was cheap.
Really? Well, they talked about the tracking of the phones. That's why I thought it was cool.
Yeah, but of all things to try to like incorporate the technology, like it just seemed too, like, why the fuck would she do that? Like, that seems so stupid for her to do. Like, she not only they were drinking, she was fucking pissed at him. Why is she playing games all the time?
I wouldn't have done it.
Just like, oh,
yeah,
like, it's such a stupid little. It was cheap, I thought.
But I don't know. I thought the idea was cool. I thought the delivery was pretty fun. I don't know. I think the idea of him doing it though, like going in with it, like even though there's this killer and he was afraid to get separated, and now like I'd be like, all right, I'm just gonna call you, like just answer your phone, let's talk, and we'll like meet up. Don't just send me a location, through your phone and be quiet. It'd be weird. You know what I mean? I'd be like, so that's the only thing I thought was silly, but I like the idea of it. I like the execution, and then it was kind of creepy when it came to that, and I just loved that he threw it. He said, screw it, because the blood was making it so you couldn't touch any buttons. But when he was running away and then Scream came out of the shed, I already knew that was going to happen because of the trailer. And, it was good. And then he just got stabbed to hell. Like, he was just stab. Like, I thought he was going to die.
I didn't really watch the trailer.
Okay, well, there's multiple trailers.
I tried to, right. I saw like a chip of one and I was like, nope, I'm going in dry.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I couldn't go in, but no way could I have went into that without seeing something. I was just too anticipated, but...
No, how could you? No. If I was you, I would have, like, just like how I was with Dexter, like, I would just fucking absorb every last ounce of it as I could.
But yeah, I thought he was going to die, and I can't believe he did not.
Oh, I know. Just like last second, they were like, oh, hi, it's Chad again. I'm here in the fucking ambulance. And the first time, I didn't even know it was him. The second watch, I realized that it was him. I was like, well, it must. The first time I was like, oh, it must be him, because who else would she wave to like that?
I seen it the first time, but I wouldn't believe it that he would last that long for how much he was stabbed. He almost already looked like he was dying, because Ghostface only ran away because they showed up with the headlights, Sam and them. But
I got scared. I got scared for a second there.
Yeah, I do, and I like him too. I learned to like him more than like other characters played in other movies. I like him. I like Mindy. I actually do like Tara and Sam. I kind of liked having them as characters. So I was comfortable with those four sticking around.
Yeah. I think that even though we didn't get to know them super duper well, I think that the way that they got weaved in and like the perfect timing of bringing in the quote unquote legacy characters, I think that they executed their timing really well, which made everything that could have possibly went wrong or had been wrong with the movie kind of either gave it a nice little push to keep it from being shitty or ended up enhancing it and actually making it, better or what it needed to be. I'm not sure of how it would have turned out, if they would have done it with like trickling in the older characters, but mostly relying more heavily on the newer people. They would have definitely needed to give them more of a background if they were going to do that.
So let's skip forward real quick because I want to talk about, since we're talking about characters and trickling in old characters, because this is another character that we did not mention that reprises his role from a previous Scream. And Sam is now in the hospital, and Ghostface, this is when Ghostface calls Sam, and he pops up from behind the door and attacks her, and she runs outside and tells the security guy. He comes in. And
that was a nice little struggle they had in there.
Yeah, that was a nice little chase thing there.
Now that I'm looking back on it, not while I was watching it, but looking back on it, I'm glad there was a little bit of tussle there, because for the most part, the rest of it was all
just straight up. He popped out and people died, which I forgot. We might as well go back real quick before we go back to the hospital. Red Right Hand plays in Vince's car. His lights turn on and stuff when he's taking a piss or something outside. Vince is the bad guy, whatever that was at the bar. The one that Liv must have had sex with or something, and the little fling. And he's like, get the fuck out of my car, blah, blah, blah. And he goes over there and nobody's in his car and he shuts it off, and and then he gets up and, Ghostface is right behind him. And he just does this quick little did he stab him or did he slice his neck real quick?
Oh, dude, he just real quick, just into the side of his neck, just jabbed him real quick. Just
okay.
So fast. Just fucking creeped me out how quick it was.
And then when he falls, dude, and then all that blood just drains up on his face as he's crawling across the ground. I'm that death was so good. That looks so good. It looks so
precise. Like it was just it was like a precision shot, and it was right behind him. It was so quiet, but also normal feeling, just like the sound of a running vehicle in an alleyway.
Well, and the Red Right Hand playing in the back too. So again, the Ghostface. Well, right before Ghostface calls Sam at the hospital, this is when we get revealed that Billy from Scream 1, the original killer,
has a small cock,
which was Sidney's boyfriend. He is actually the father of Sam. Sam tells Tara that she goes up in the attic, finds this diary that her mom had. It's pretty much saying that she is the daughter of Billy. And she confronts her mom in front of her dad about it. Her dad leaves, and so that split up the family. And then, obviously, Sam was afraid of what she could have become, so she left the family. And so Tara was hurt by that. Well,
that was a pretty compelling backstory.
It is. It's a different kind of story. And at first, I thought, okay, so Billy shows up in visions from Sam, behind her windows or mirrors and stuff, and at first, I was like, that's stupid. But then after watching it again, especially the second time, I'm like, that's not too bad. And just even seeing it being played by the original Bill, Skeet Ulrich, the fact that he reprised his role as Billy, Skeet, yeah. Because the de-aging and the way he looked, it felt dark and creepy, but also wow, it was so cool seeing him. It was just things like that tied to the original that I was just like, wow, the detail is so great. So that was cool. Obviously, now there's new, with that being found out too, now we're like, whoa, that is a huge story added to the whole series from the get-go, because that means that she was conceived before the killings first ever happened, because obviously Billy died. So when Sidney and Sam meet and they know the story, it's just kind of awkward. You could feel the tension and how weird that is. But at the same time, Sidney's just like, I don't give a shit. I have my own life now. She's
definitely jaded to the whole thing. The whole thing. How could she not be?
We go to Dewey's house now. We get to see him in his daily routine and find out that he now lives in a trailer, and that Gail and him are no longer together. Just like in real life, they are no longer together. So, yeah. I mean, they co-parent, so in real life they're fine, but it just weird how it happened. Like Scream 1, they met each other, they started liking each other. Scream 2, they started liking each other more, and I think they might have been married by Scream 2, but I'm not sure. And then Scream 3, they were already married, and that's when that movie he proposes to her. Scream 4, they're married, but they're kind of going through a rough patch, and which was real life that was happening. And then Scream 5, they were split up. But Dewey, and I think they kind of wrote it like that too for this one. But Dewey is kind of like a hometown guy, sticks in Woodsboro. He just feels like he's stuck there. And, obviously Sydney got out, and Gail, she had the opportunity to become a morning show, like a news morning, like Today's Show. And so Dewey tried to hash it out and be there for like 2 months. He tried, and he just couldn't do it, and he left in the middle of the night.
That was so sad to me. That I felt so bad for him. I mean, he definitely fucking wussied out big time and just like dipped. But I felt for that. I'd put myself in a place where I was like, what's something that I would be really afraid to be doing? And, thinking about how I probably would have, if I felt like he did, I probably would have backed out too. And I would have felt like shit about it. Cause he was already like, I already feel like shit enough about it, Gail. You don't got to push the knife in and turn it.
And that's what's crazy. It's like knowing their relationship and how much it built up just for it to be like done at that point in Scream 5. So that was also sad seeing how strong they were. Well, I shouldn't say strong. They had their stuff, but it was just one of that couple that you're like, oh, you guys are like nice together. So anyway, so Dewey watches her every morning, and then Sam and Richie show up, and they're pretty much like, this is what's going on. There's these killings. We need help. And he's like, nah, I'll give you like 2 minutes to talk, but no. I've been stabbed, like whatever he said, 9 times, and he has a limp, and he doesn't want to do that again. What was cool though in Dewey's house too, and it showed they showed he has a liquor bottle that he drinks, and but he had a picture of him and Gail, but then also next to it had a box and a rose, and it said, I think it's said Tatum or something on it, and that's his sister who died in the first one, which we don't really get to hear much in the other movies for some reason, because she was one of the main characters and she died, but it's his sister. But this one kind of almost puts it in there more, just like Randy has a mural at the Meeks house when they had that little get together and shows him and stuff. That was cool, bringing him back in like that too. So Dewey's introduced. They try to figure out get him to help. He says no, but then he eventually shows up to the house that they're going to meet all the kids and stuff and talk about what was going on to try to figure out who the killer was. So Dewey does show up, and they say something about oh, just because he showers doesn't mean, he should have a gun. So he used to be a deputy, then he became sheriff by Scream 4, and then they asked him to retire. He was at his lowest, and it sucks because he didn't deserve it. He was always the one to help people and be there and be one of the strong people. So he seems more down, but he goes in there and he tries to talk to them. Again, Dewey music theme is playing now, and again, you didn't hear it from Scream 4, so it was nice hearing it again. So they all go in, they discuss. This is when we get to meet Randy's sister, Martha, who we've seen in Scream 3, and then the mural of Randy. And they all talk about Sam pretty much opens up the fact that she is the daughter of Billy Loomis, and they all pretty much say that they're trying to accuse everyone who could be the killer, and they talk about the rules. That's when they were at Dewey's house, but now with this big group. So when they show up to his trailer, to Dewey's trailer, they tell him about the killings and stuff. So then he reaches out and calls Sydney, and she's pushing kids. So now at this point, she has children. The way Sydney answers the phone is as if Dewey and Sydney have not talked in a long time. And they're kind of catching up real quick. And he asks, is Mark still treating you well? Or are you still with Mark or something like that? Referring to Mark Kincaid, which was, what's his name? Dr. Dreamy from Grey's Anatomy, whatever his name is. He was with her. He was kind of love interests in the third movie, and they didn't talk about him at all in the fourth. So I'm thinking now she is married to him in this fifth movie and now has children. He gets off the phone with Sydney. He texts Gail, doesn't call because he knows she's online or on air. texts and says, don't come here, Ghostface is back or something like that. And then he says, I hope you're well or something like that, and puts a smiley face. And that's where everyone laughed in the theaters for that. And then he's like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or that I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? And then he went to say something else. And yeah, I like that. So then he gets his gun out of the thing underneath the picture of Gail and him. And like I said, he meets all those kids at that house, shows up anyways with his theme playing. And they talk about who the killers are. And then Wes says something to Dewey, like about him being the killer. He's lost everything and drank, pretty much at the bottom of a bottle, like pretty much really being rude to him. And Dewey just says to Wes, maybe you're the killer because, and then he gets all emotional because that cut deep. And I felt bad for him. I was like, oh, Dewey. Then Mindy introduces what a requel is now. This is when we hear the requel word. So, like I said, I liked what they had to say about it, between the technology, cell phones, and all this different things, and the whole requel thing. And she's just funny. I like Mindy.
Yeah, she's good. She's a good actor, all in all. She everything. I haven't seen her in much, but everything that I have seen her in, she does really well. She plays her characters great.
So then Sam gets accused of being the killer, and she gets all upset and she leaves. And then that's when she sees Billy again in the back of her car and talking to her and says, like, yeah, pretty much just start killing people. Like, let's find who this person is, that was weird that he was all like, let's find this killer when he was the killer, but whatever.
Well, yeah, it's not, you have to remember though, it's not actually Billy, it's her subconscious. So whatever Billy's saying is what her mind is trying to convince herself of.
That's true. Yeah, because she didn't really know, other than what she's seen footage-wise of her father, which he probably didn't even know. But yeah, now we're back with Judy Hicks. I loved her in Scream 4. She was like the comic relief, so it was awesome seeing her back in this one. And it was weird though, because we seen her in the hospital a little bit back then too, and she said about how Sam like pretty much should leave because she doesn't care about the community like everyone else does. But it's weird because Judy was like the comic relief, but in this one she seems a lot more serious. She carries herself a lot more serious, and now she is a sheriff.
But she's also like goofy and awkward all at the same time.
Yeah, she is, and that's how she was in the fourth one, but she was a lot more goofy and awkward in the fourth one. This one, she's just more serious.
Yeah,
and
she got that big girl role.
Yeah, I mean, she is sheriff now.
Not fucking around, making those big bills, big paychecks.
The money's making it rain, the dollar bills. So she leaves to go get some sushi, and Wes takes a shower, and well, first we get a little scared that somebody kind of came in the house, and she grabbed the knife and she almost, got close to stabbing Wes, and then she
almost stabbed her own son, which I think that was stupid, because I was like, Wes, why was Wes even going over there? Because when he went, just to scare her pretty much, he turned around and just went right back in. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to think, why, if all this happened, why was he even trying to come over this way? Just to change his mind and go back.
Exactly. And it didn't even work because the doorway was way down there and she was already turned around, and then all of a sudden, but he would have already been in that room. Like, she was right there. So
yeah, that was definitely a cheap one too.
So she leaves to go get the sushi while he's taking a shower, and she gets a call from Ghostface, which she does some smart things where she tries to track the phone call while she's driving and stuff like that. And then he ends up mentioning her son, Wes. So she flips those lights on and she turns around and she drives real fast. So she just flies down this road and she gets to the house, and she goes to go to the front, and all of a sudden Ghostface just pops out on the porch. He's right on the porch and just stabs her, starts attacking her, just starts stabbing the shit out of her. And at that point, that's why I was like,
in broad fucking daylight.
I know, dude.
At that point, I was like, this guy does not give a fuck.
Outside in the open. I know. It was just like, whoa, I didn't expect her to die so fast either. And now we're in the house where Wes is, and that was a brutal thing. Wes is inside now. He's drying off and he's walking around. There's some suspense of door opening. Oh, fake. A fake. Oh, he's right there. Open another fridge. Oh, fake. He's not there.
So annoying. And it was so obvious every single time that they had some very
I know,
obnoxious door or fridge door or freezer door or cabinet door. It was very obvious when it was taking up the whole background that they were either trying to make you think,
yeah,
or scare you that they're about something being behind it.
We definitely want to talk about all the kills. So now we're at Wes, and Wes is, like I said, just out of the shower. He goes to the front after getting all those fake scares, goes to the front door, and he goes and turns around, and Ghostface is right there. And at that point, I was like, oh, maybe he is not the killer then. And he starts getting attacked by Ghostface. And then all of a sudden, he tries to grab the taser, and he couldn't reach. But then, Ghostface just slams this knife as hard as he can towards his neck, and then Wes can't hold back anymore. And then that knife just slides into the side of his neck. And that is such it makes me cringe. And then, so he dies. And then at that point, now we're, take it away. I don't know where we're at. I'm trying to find my place here. Okay, so after Judy dies, on the fridge too, when Wes closes the door, which was really funny, the fridge door, there's a post-it note, and it says something about like there's lemon squares in the fridge, and that's always funny because in Scream 4 she made lemon squares, and it was just like a little thing that she did that was funny, especially when because Gail and her did not get along because she kind of like flirted with David, with Dewey, and so she would say stuff like, "Oh, by the way, your lemon squares taste like ass." So it was funny that she had that on there. It's just like it wasn't a big deal, but it was just something small that tied to some of the other ones for like fans who knew the other ones.
Now that we've kind of reincorporated the names and the ideas of the legacy characters, due to Ghostface murdering Judy and Wes, now brings in somebody very, very special to Dewey's heart. Gale Weathers. Gale Weathers has returned. Very conveniently. I wonder if maybe she was just trying to support her old community, or if she was just trying to show up to snag a story.
Sounds like both, like always, but not as much of a story like she used to. And I like how she comes up to Dewey. She's like, "In a text? You text me? Like, that's how you tell me?" Like, hits him, and she's like, "Oh, that hurts." But that's fun to see them. And then that's when they had that conversation about like the whole New York thing and, all that stuff.
And I'm glad that she was at least the one person in the film that was like, "You are no coward, Dewey." Like, she shows him the utmost respect, I think, opposed to everybody.
Because they love each other still.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You could see that.
Yeah. It's just that their work and where they want to live just don't match. But what was really cool, so you didn't watch the recaps for these movies, and I sent you some Dead Meat recaps. The kill counts.
Very busy boy.
What was cool, though, is that they were actually, the videos I sent you, when we watched the movie, Dead Meat was on there reviewing Stab 8. When Richie was watching the videos, whatever, like YouTube video thing, that was so cool when I seen it. I was like, oh my fucking God, because I love Dead Meat and all their videos. I would love to do what he does. So to see that, I'd be like, oh my God, if that was me and I did his job and got to be in Scream, all my dreams. So it was just so cool seeing that. And then they had a different name than Dead Meat, but it was him and his, almost wife here, Chelsea. And they talk about horror movies and like dead kill counts. Well, they were talking about Stab 8, so the movie within this Scream franchise, Stab 8, and how they called it Stab, even though it's Stab 8. And she's like, "You're not fooling anyone." And that's funny because that's like a little nod to their own movie, Scream, calling it Scream instead of Scream 5, even though it's the 5th installment. And then I just found out, I did not see this personally, but this is what people have been saying online. You know how on YouTube it shows you like the recommendation or what's playing next on the right-hand side, the little thumbnail, video tabs or whatever. One of them said that Kirby from Scream 4, who got stabbed in the stomach and we didn't see her fully die, but in the contract she wasn't supposed to die and stuff like that. And if there was a 5th and 6th one, she was supposed to be in it. She unfortunately was not in this one, but in the little thumbnail thing, it said something about watch the interview with Kirby, 2011 Woodsboro murder survivor, and it was like a 1-year-old video. So she survived. Yeah, the question we've always been wanting to know. Yes, so cool, sit like that. But it's awesome. I hope she comes back because she was one of my favorite characters from all the films. Like, she was one of my favorites. But that at least we get that. I'll take that if that's all we can get. Something I wanted to say too before I forget that I noticed personally throughout all the films. In the background, you notice a lot of times that they hung up like a black sweatshirt or a black something, and they put like a white cloth or something else on it. So especially when it was blurry, it almost looked like Ghostface was standing there. So you kind of always felt like you were creeped out, but you didn't know why because it was just clothing. But it was always giving you this sense of like something was there, even though it really wasn't, just to creep you out. So I always loved the idea that if they did it intentionally or not, I don't know, but it feels like they did, especially the way it was like laid white on top of the black and just in that head area. I thought it was creative on their part. I thought that was really clever of them. For example, one of the scene when Mindy and Amber are down the stairs to get some beer, on the wall, there's like on the left-hand side of the fridge. If you're looking at the fridge on the left-hand side wall, there's like a black jacket or something with like a white thing on top. That's one of them. And then I noticed some other places too, but yeah.
I feel like usually I'm the one who notices things that I point out to you, and this time you're definitely noticing a lot of things that you're pointing out to me. Yeah, Detective Hoffman over here.
Oh, I'm on this one,
Detective Nicholas White on the case.
So we are now back at the hospital where Tara has, for some reason, she's on her own floor, which I think it would have just been safer to be surrounded by other people. But whatever. She's on her own floor now with one security guard, which now Sam realizes that the security guards that she had, there's only one there that ends up dying.
Fucking Wes and Judy are dead. Everyone gets distracted. Everybody goes and checks that shit out. All of a sudden, Sam's like, what the fuck? My sister's alone right now. She's probably so fucked. And so she hurries up and goes back. And in the midst of all this is when I was talking about going through the works of Tara, showing that she's in pain and getting up and getting out. And that's when she discovers the new deputy is dead.
Yeah.
He was a mess, too. He was a big old mess. Big old puddly mess.
Yeah, he was pretty gross on the ground there. Ooh. But she...
Want to take a big old lick.
Ew. What are you licking?
The blood.
I bet you it's sweet. It's probably corn syrup. The security guy is like, or police guy, whatever, he's like dying, and Tara is trying to like roll around with her wheelchair, and she's like having problems with her hand. It's starting to bleed and stuff, which is awesome that she's like struggling so much. But like I said, I don't know why she's on her own floor. So she kind of hides in the one room because she can hear noises and stuff, and someone like must be coming up. But then it ends up being Richie, and she hits Richie, and Richie's like, "Why'd you hit me?" And then all of a sudden, Ghostface shows up and like slices Richie's arm and then knocks him out. And she tries to get away, and then Richie gets a call from Sam. So Sam and Dewey are on their way. Oh, by the way, Tara at this point does know about Sam's dad being Billy. And she is not happy and told her to get the fuck out. So that was the last thing that happened with them. But now, Ghostface is now behind her. And he like turns on, like it must be the voice recorder or the voice changer in his mask. And he like makes it go off, answers the phone. And it's Sam, and they talk on the phone. And he's like pretty much saying to Sam, you pick. Who do you want to die, your boyfriend or your sister? And he knocks her off the wheelchair. And eventually... Sam's like, I'm just trying to delay time, and the elevator's open, and then Dewey just starts shooting. Yeah, it was. I like that. I love it because I wasn't expecting. I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck? And then Ghostface scurries off, and then Dewey goes running, grabs Richie, and comes down the hall. Which this was very obvious. I knew this was gonna happen. Ghostface comes flying back and hits Dewey, and they like do a little brawl, and eventually, which was actually a pretty good brawl for a little while. And then Dewey hits Ghostface into like the shelves, and they all knock down and knocking him out. So they get him all in the elevator, and Dewey stands behind and says, I need to shoot him in the head. Just like Scream 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of them got shot in the head. So you have to do it to make sure they're dead. So he goes back to double tap, but then he gets a phone call, and then bam! Ghostface gets up and attacks him. And they just struggle some more. But the problem is, Dewey gets stabbed in the stomach. And then he gets stabbed with a second knife. That has never happened before. A second knife comes back and stabs him in the back. Now, mind you, Dewey's been stabbed almost to death in like the first 3. I don't know about the third one, but at least the first 2 almost died. They almost killed him off in the original film, by the way. But they were like, no, people are going to like him, so they kept him. But he's been stabbed many times and still survived. This one, I was like, okay, he might still survive, but then no. After that second stab, and then how bad Dewey was, like, he looked like he hurt so bad. And he was like the blood in the mouth, and he was just pulling up on these knives, like almost lifting him and just sliding these knives up. And the blood was just, falling on the ground and squirting, and it was really emotional. That's when everyone was just like, oh my God. And like in the theater, and even me, I was just like, my hand on my mouth. I was just like, this is not happening. I can't believe it. That is the one thing that makes me sad about the movie that I kind of wish didn't happen. But at the same time, somebody needed to eventually. It just sucks. Because I wanted more from them first.
Yeah. No, I mean, truthfully, I felt so bad for him that I felt like it was good for him for that to happen.
Yeah, because of where he
As a
went in his
character.
life. It just sucks that it ended like that because he's done so much.
He was just going to be sad. He was just going to be sad. It was probably better that he died. He was just so sad. So,
Way to be so dark, Joe. No, I honestly, though.
miserable life watching his ex fucking wife every morning, just sitting, ex doing nothing, ass fucking drinking himself to death. He did one last good thing. He helped the good people of Westboro.
He did. And like she said, if it wasn't for him, Tara would have been dead.
It's true. Dude was a mess, so he went out like a fucking boss. And one thing that gave me super chills just a little bit before that was when
Gail calls.
No, well, that was definitely fucked. But
that's sad. I wish you would have been able to answer.
When Ghostface was talking on the phone with Sam about choosing between Richie and Tara, when Ghostface had said that he was going to hit all the organs that he missed the first time, that was just a phrase that just made me, because already just seeing how fucked up she got and just thinking about all the
other
spots
places
that
she
he
gets
missed
stabbed,
he would just specifically get stabbed that he'd already missed was just so nasty.
Yeah, that's some of the stuff that Ghostface says sometimes is even the darkest parts of it.
I would rather get shot than stabbed any day.
Oh yeah, stabbing.
It's too personal. It's too slow. You have too long to process everything, and you feel yourself get cold. It's like real slowly.
If you get stabbed enough, it might not be slow. You might be passing out real quick. So then Gail shows up after Dewey's death, and it's very emotional. Well, first she calls. He doesn't answer because he's dying, and the blood's all over it, and it shows that Gail's calling. And then, like I said, it cuts to Gail showing up at the hospital and Dewey in a body bag, and sad music, and she's crying in slow motion, and it's emotional for all of us, for all the fans. It's just like, wow, Dewey, one of the biggest characters, one of the it's hard. The big brother of the movies is now dead, and then this also brings Sydney back from hiding, and she meets up with Gail, and Gail and her hug it out for a long time.
I was not expecting that. I really wasn't. That took me by a pleasant surprise. That it, once, because I wasn't even thinking about Sydney when Dewey died. Obviously, I was just thinking about Dewey. So then it really it took me for a swing of things when all of a sudden Sidney Prescott comes back because their good buddy Dewey ends up passing on due to the Ghostface's wrath. The one thing that we didn't mention was how Ghostface had said that it was an honor to kill him. It was like kind of rewarding and extra fucked up all at the same time.
I mean, I kept on thinking of his death like all the time. It's hard. It's hard to see that character go when he was such a big pivotal part of the series. But like I said, with them moving forward with new characters, I could see how that needs to be fit in there a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, with this movie, they definitely wiped the slate clean.
Yeah, the main characters could walk away, and then there could be a whole new story. So Sydney shows up, and like I said, she hugs it out with Gail, and then they wait, and then Sam's like, "We're gonna do what no one ever in horror movies ever do. We're gonna get the fuck out of here." So they all decide, Sam and Tara and Richie decide, okay, we're getting in the car, we're leaving, and Sydney's trying to get her to stay, and she's like kind of like being rude to Sydney, and then Gail comes out and she's like, hey, new girl.
Yeah, because Sam calls her lady. Some did feel rude about that when she said, all right, lady. Like, if I was, I'd be like, all right.
Yeah, like...
ageist bitch.
She's just trying to help. Sam didn't want to have anything to do with it, and she's like, I just want to leave, which I totally get it. I'd be out. I'd be like, I want to go. I'm sorry, I'm leaving.
Fuck yeah, for once I was actually like, wow, someone's actually doing something that makes sense in a movie. When shit goes awry, fucking bounce. Go away.
Exactly. So Sydney puts a tracker on their car, though, which is not like Sydney, but I love how she's like, seems like something Gail would do.
Yeah, that got a lot of laughs too.
Yeah, Gail's like, well, I'll take that as a compliment. And then Sydney and Gail then track them, like they, kind of follow them, which Sam and all of them go to Stu's house, the party house that's going on right now. One of the things that's Sydney, or what Gail says to Sydney while they're in there is, I should have never wrote that book. All this is because of me. And then Sydney said, no, this is because of Billy. It's what Billy did. Because Gail wrote that book about her mother's death way back, and it really was a big part of this story for the longest time until almost this fifth one almost. So that was crazy. But now, like I said, we're back. Now we're at Stu's old house. So now it is Amber's house, and they have this party, and they have this thing on there like Wes, in memory of Wes or something like that, in the sign, and they're all like cheersing to Wes, even though it's a Wes character, Dillon Minette, but it's also meaning like Wes Craven. And they're at this party, and you get to see this house from the original film that they recreated from scratch on set and everything, and it looks so fucking good. It like down to the T. Very good job for set design and production and the paint department, construction, all them guys just to create that. And the set deck, the dressers and stuff for finding this stuff that looks like, the place. Like even down to the tile, it almost looks like the same stuff. It's so cool.
This is when Tara realizes that she doesn't have her inhaler when they're kind of skipping Dodge or getting out of Dodge. So the first place that she thinks is obviously her pretty much sister Amber, the one that was very motherly and protective of her in the beginning, clearly would be the one that would have the inhaler at her place. So they decide to make a quick pit stop after Richie makes a few quick, funny quips about how he wants to keep all the blood in his body and stuff like that. That got some good chuckles. They make their way to Amber's house, that just so happens to be throwing a rager in the name of Wes, even though that's not really what it was supposed to be.
But when they pulled up, that's when Chad is on the ground just getting stabbed. So that kind of saved him from
very untimely
dying, which we went into detail earlier. So Liv and Chad are on the couch at this party, and Liv wants to have some sexual relations with Chad and go upstairs where they can be alone. And Chad's like, I don't know about that. Like, I'm trying to be real here. Like, not saying you are the killer, but not 100%. But there's people here, and it's safe. And Liv did not like that, so she left.
I didn't know who to feel for, because I'm like, God damn it! Like, I'm right there with him. Like, if you really don't know who's what, and all of a sudden she's deciding that she wants to do this right in the middle of all of this, I'd be kind of suspicious as well. But being her and her knowing that she's not the killer, obviously that's super offensive and makes you feel like shit.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to understand, if you're in that situation, I would be like, I totally get it. I mean, it sucks that you feel like that, but
then she was being a super crybaby about it. She's like,
oh my God. And she comes back in like pouting, like, wait, they made her too much of a red herring the whole time, where I was like, I can definitely tell she's not going to be the killer because they try to force it so much.
Too much. Just more towards the end. You know what I mean? Like more towards when they were trying to push trying to really push the whodunit all the way to the edge of the cliff.
So Sam and them get to the house, and they try to kick out all the party goers.
Yeah, all of a sudden, what the fuck's up with Richie? Like, all of a sudden, he steps up and he just didn't seem like the type that would be telling a bunch of people to get the fuck out of the house. You know what I mean? Like, he seemed pretty reserved for the most part.
He didn't want to. I think Sam wanted him to. She's kind of like, come on, like, do something with her face and her eyes. She's like, come on. So he's like, oh, okay. Turns the lights on. Like, all right, guys, go. Like, I've been nice. Like, just get. I think because he makes it seem like he wants to get out of there. Oh, then this is where we get a little bit more Mindy, too. And Mindy is, like, making out with that girl on the couch. This is what I thought was really cool, too, that they did, is they added Randy scenes to the Stab movie. So we already had an establishing, like, Stab movie already made, which we've seen reoccur in Stab, or in Scream 2 and 4, and, like, references in 3. But it was cool to be able to see that they added, like, these scenes from the original film into, like, the Stab universe to make it seem like where Randy, what he was doing, which is recreating where Mindy is when she says, like, oh, turn around and all this other stuff and the killer's behind you. It's almost like a chain reaction, because Jamie Kennedy, who's the actor of Randy in Scream 1, was saying that to Jamie Lee Curtis. So Jamie and Jamie, about turning around, look behind you. Ghostface was actually behind him when he was saying it. Now she was watching Stab, which was a remake of the Scream film, which was their real life. And then she was watching that saying, like, look behind you, like, come on. And then that's when she realizes, like, oh shit, I got to look behind me. And that's where the killer's at. And then the killer attacks Mindy, which I think I jumped up there.
That was such an awesome moment. This was one of the parts in the film with the audience for the second viewing that was, like, also extra exciting, because everyone together was yelling for her to turn around after she would be yelling at her uncle to turn around.
So after this attack, everyone kind of, like, comes back to where Mindy is in the TV room area, and they're talking, and all of a sudden Amber just pulls out a gun and just shoots Liv right in the head, like, boom. Like, holy shit. I'm like, all right.
Out of nowhere.
She's the killer.
Shit just went down quick.
And at this point, I thought there might have only been one killer. We've always had, like, 2 killers. Except for Scream 3, we had 1. I actually, at this point, thought, okay, we only have 1 killer. And I was like, that's a stupid reveal, though.
That was one thing I was very proud of myself, was right after that happened, and I was like, well, there's 1. And I knew deep down inside, I was like, there's always 2. There's got to be 2. Who's number 2? Because I remembered so well, especially because I loved how, whatever his name was, who also played Shaggy, like, I remember those 2 being together, and just those 2 together, I just couldn't forget. They just did it so well. So I remembered that there were 2 of them. So when I was watching, I was like, so who's number 2 then? Because pretty sure there were times where she was around where you saw Ghostface at the same time. So also that was another thing that made me think that there had to have been somebody else helping her.
Yeah, exactly. And I was kind of hoping for this one we would have had, like, 3 killers, or like a cult situation, but with enough characters to do that where it wasn't ridiculous. But, like, because we've always had 2, we've had 1 once, but we've never had 3.
God, wouldn't that be crazy if everybody in the friend group was actually up to this? And the only one who didn't know was Tara and Sam.
Or it was Sydney, Dewey, and Gail the whole time. Them 3 were killers. Amber comes out, and she's crying or screaming. She's like, help me. And I do love that they're questioning her, though. That is so cool. Instead of being like, oh my God, let me help you.
Which she was doing a little bit too much for being shot as well.
And they both have guns in their hands by the way. Yeah. They're prepared. I love it. And then that was actually that was Neve Campbell's idea. The actress that plays Sydney, that was her idea to say, well, at the very beginning, how, like, Dewey asks if she has a gun, and she says, I'm Sydney fucking Prescott. Of course I have a gun, or whatever. That was her idea to say. But yeah, and then Amber just pulls out this gun and just shoots Gail right in the side, right where she got, like, same spot she got shot, I believe, in Scream 2.
Yeah.
So,
which she was doing a little bit too much for being shot as well.
Yeah, like, too much, like, overacting, you're thinking?
Like, she got shot around her fucking appendix.
Oh, like, she was moving too much. Like, she should have been struggling a little bit more.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Okay, yeah.
And bled a lot more.
Yeah.
Probably bled to death.
I was kind of nervous for Gale. I was like, is she going to be the next one? I thought 2 people were going to die. I thought both of those 2 were going to die. And Sydney was going to live.
I feel like I would have liked it a little bit more if Gale and Dewey died together. You know what I mean?
I kind of thought that too, but I also love...
Like it felt cold again when Dewey was the only one who ended up really
right, like he's alone in that, yeah.
gone.
But I do like Gale and Sydney's chemistry. Like they always had like each movie they got closer because at the beginning they were enemies. Gale was a bitch, like to Sydney, like it was terrible, and they just got better and better. So then Amber hurries back in the house, and then Gale just tells to Sydney like, "Go for it."
She just kind of disappears.
Yeah, she goes back in, but Gale says, "Go for it. Get her."
Yeah, and one thing that was weird though was why was Sydney like shooting every fucking door as if there was like like she was like being smart and secretly breaking open the locks when like no, I don't think the doors were just closed.
Because there's always been she wasn't breaking the locks. No, it wasn't. She was trying to shoot if there's a killer behind the door.
Oh, because
they've been they've hidden doors from her, and she's already been through that. She's like, fuck it, boom, boom, boom.
She's like, come out now. Now's your chance. If you don't want to get shot, just come out now.
And she gave warning, and then she ended up shooting Richie in the leg, and he's like, why did you shoot me? Why? And she's like, why didn't you come out? He's like, because you're shooting things with a gun. Like, I'm not coming out. And I thought that was kind of funny. And then that's when, boom, the killer comes out, and he attacks Sydney, and they fall over the balcony onto the ground way down below. That looked like it hurt.
Yeah, that was a big fall.
Richie comes up and stabs Sam in the stomach. So that's the second reveal for who the second killer is. And they force all of them back into the kitchen.
That was fucked up though too. Like just all things considered.
Oh yeah.
Like the betrayal of the boyfriend again and her and just her situation and him being the way that he was and her just like needing somebody and her background and all that shit. Like, I mean, as brutal as it was, because what was also fucked up about having the audience that I wanted to mention was everyone was so fucking stoked for her when she was absolutely annihilating him at the end. But then after it started to go on for too long, like it got weird. Everybody, like it didn't stop when you would have thought they would have stopped long before that. And it went from people like rooting like, fuck yeah, kill his ass. And then she just kept going and everyone just kind of like sunk into their seats and kind of got quiet. And we're like, okay, we think he's dead.
Which I don't know how he didn't die faster than that for how many stabs I thought.
Oh my God, that was brutal. Especially for it not being the actual killer. But being probably the most brutal kill, you know what I mean, as far as like personal and vicious of the whole film and maybe the whole franchise.
I mean, the multiple stabs is pretty crazy, but I think Scream 4's one character who gets like stabbed and like thrown out the window, brought back in, and then hurt, like thrown on the bed. She's got stabbed in the hand as well, and like beat up, and she gets thrown on the bed, and she's like guts are hanging out. And everything, blood is all over the house. Like it's probably one of the most gruesome ones. Or Drew Barrymore's death, because she like gets dragged, attacked and stabbed, and then she gets dragged out, hung from a tree, and her guts were hung out of her stomach. So that's pretty. But it's just you don't see it like you see this one. Like this one, you see happen.
Usually that kind of stuff doesn't make me feel uncomfortable, but I don't know. I just felt weird. I felt like we were all just watching horror, like gore porn, all of a sudden.
What did you think of his line when he says, "What about my ending?"
Oh yeah,
wasn't that stupid? I didn't really like that too much.
My ending, because he didn't. I don't know. It was too late in the game because his character switched just so much. You know what I mean? Like his character switched from one person that you thought he was to a completely different person.
Yeah.
So, the person that he was before didn't really seem like he would have been obsessed with, how his story turned out. It seemed like he was more obsessed with how, I guess it was because of how he wanted the movie to turn out.
Yeah. Well, what's funny too is this is the first movie where the killers didn't betray each other, where they like both kind of worked together until the end.
They even made mention of fucking each other.
I thought I heard something about that, so he must have like went all the way there just to do that, because like they had to be sneaky about it.
There was a point where Richie actually did, just for a second, make me feel like, wait, what the fuck? Maybe, was it Tara this whole time?
Oh yeah, question.
Like when it was coming to the ends of things, I was like, but there's no fucking way.
When she was tied up, and I was like, oh, could she be the killer? I like how she was like stopped. Like how she stopped doing to undo like the duct tape and stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't show us. I'm glad they didn't
Me
show
too.
us, letting
Because
her
they
go.
cut back to Sydney and them where they're forced back into the kitchen, and that's where the ending of the first movie was taking place, which was kind of cool. But what I noticed was Sam was standing where Sydney was back in the day. Sydney was standing more to the left. So it was like passing the torch off in that situation. Like now her shoes are put into somebody else's shoes. I mean, both in the same scenario at that moment. Because even then, Sydney gets stabbed again in the stomach. But I like the tussle. What happens with Ghostface and, well, at that time, I guess it would be Amber. So Amber and Gail and Sydney, and how they both grab her and like throw her over that like island. Or like,
yeah, that was fun.
And I think like
And that fucking hand sanitizer.
it wasn't hand sanitizer or alcohol. That's what
It looked. She said hand sanitizer, but it looked like vodka.
Okay.
It looked like a bottle of
Yeah.
vodka.
So who said hand sanitizer?
Amber did, because it went all over her face, and she's like, "Fucking hand sanitizer."
She wanted to make sure her cuts were clean. Okay, so that's funny because that's kind of like a fuck you kind of thing to COVID situation, like the whole.
The way that, yeah, for sure. The way that she fell into that stove looked fucking fake as fuck, though.
Yeah, she like it twisted on while she like fell.
So it looked so staged. Even just the way that it got turned on, you're like, "Up, here it comes."
Yeah.
And it could have still been good with the here it comes, but it like her body movements just made it seem so fake and staged. So I didn't like that. People were like going crazy over her being on fire for some reason.
Like I didn't mind that she was on fire. I didn't hate it.
I thought it was dumb.
I guess it's just, I don't know. It didn't really bother me. It was something.
It's overkill.
It was something different, I guess, than what they normally would do. They don't use fire too often. But I do like that Gail, like Sydney's like, "Do you want to do the honors?" and like give her the gun to shoot her, and that's what shot her into the fire. But the one thing I hated about that situation is at the end, when Tara finally, they're looking for Tara. Tara comes out. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but I want to talk about how Tara had the last shot against her to kill Amber, and I hated that because I wanted Gail to have that last shot for Dewey. Like, you should have been able to be the one that kills her, not Tara. So that was a bummer too. I didn't like that too much. Because I mean, they really tussled too. Like, because Amber was like strangling Gail as well, so it was like personal too. So like,
I was surprised. She's one tough cookie, man. She got the upper hand for a second there.
And she even headbutts her.
Yeah, like a hard ass. Oh, I also liked that towards the end when the phone rang, and Sam said that it was for him, for Richie. You remember that? I like that. I like that they kind of turned it around on him and had the phone call be for him for once instead of it being on the other actual victims.
Which they've done that too, I think, in Scream 3. They've called the killer back too, and that kind of like gave away where the killer was and kind of helped Sydney like kind of attack him. So that's kind of probably a nod to Scream 3. Cut back up, I guess, where Tara shoots. First, Tara was missing, so we didn't know she escaped. We've come to realize that Tara was good, and Amber's like, I guess you weren't that persuasive. That's what she said to Richie before, obviously, he died. So she's missing, and Amber's trying to find her, and it's just kind of like Scream 1 when Sydney goes missing, and Billy's trying to find Sydney. So it's the same kind of scenario. Oh, also, Gail was placed on the same seat that Stu was on when he was like bleeding out in the kitchen. So that, again, stuff like that, two little things was, neat. But then Sydney says to Sam that they come back and stuff like that. They can come back because they've come back in other movies. So Sam grabs the gun and shoots Richie a couple times, and then it like hits the bottom of his neck into his head and like blows out his brains, even though he's already dead. And then right after that, burnt Amber comes out from the kitchen, like yelling. She looks gnarly as hell, and she comes out and she's just like screaming, which she probably shouldn't have been alive, but whatever. And then that's when she gets killed by Tara, which sucked because I wanted that kill to be to Gail still, because she technically didn't kill her. Hurt her, didn't kill her, but. And then we're at the end. We're outside now. Both the killers are dead. The ambulance and cops and everybody are there, and I like how Gail is talking to, first off, let me say this. So after Tara shoots Amber, she says, "I still like the Babadook more," which everyone in theater laughed at that too. And then now we're outside, and that's where we see Mindy and Chad. They are still alive at the very end. So Chad is kind of in the situation like Dewey was in the first movie, where he was like alive in the ambulance when you didn't think he was going to be. And then Mindy's still alive, which is awesome as well. So I'm glad that
Mindy was a lot more joyful than I expected her to be.
Yeah. Well, she didn't get attacked as much, and then she was just like, "Oh, hey, you're alive too. Great. I'm not mom's favorite anymore." Or I'm not gonna be mom's favorite now.
Yeah, so now so Sid and Gail are sitting on the ambulance, and Sam kind of just does her due diligence by going over and showing her thanks and appreciation, and them pretty much just being the old wise and graceful ladies that they are.
I think Sydney or somebody says something to Gail about like writing the story, and Gail's just like, yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot. I like that it ended the way that it did, where she was like, this is what I was trying to say earlier about how like our culture now is just like so obsessed with serial killers, and honestly, we're like giving the worst people like the most fucking press and the most fucking FaceTime and the most like storytelling, and at this story they're like, maybe it's better to be telling the other people's stories instead of the fucking the killer stories. Maybe you should be telling the victim stories instead, and you know what I mean? So I thought it was nice that she said, I think I'm going to write about somebody who's very fucking important and very special.
That's awesome. And Sydney's like, that's a good idea, kind of attitude about it. Like she's like, yeah.
One thing that I didn't know how I felt about was just pretty much Sam's last line and question was, "Am I going to be okay?" Sid was just like, what? Pretty much just eventually. I guess I kind of think that it was kind of a fucked up question to ask her, because Sam is dealing with like actual psychotic issues, like actual, you know what I mean, chemical imbalances and problems that are like, Sydney would never had thoughts like that. Like all this shit just kind of fell on her lap from the get-go. Whereas like this is part of Sam's life, and it's like ingrained in her and her father, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to show how much of her father's bloodline and character is instilled in her, and that's what I'm kind of thinking is what's kind of leading into the second film, is what we're going to kind of find is what direction she goes in, and how she uses it.
And it's also to kind of say to like Sydney is like saying, also in a way saying, I'm okay. Even after all this, I'm okay.
So if anything, that's what I was getting out of it. Was more for everyone to kind of close the book with Sydney being like, oh, she's going to be fine after this, opposed to because for Sam, I was like, no fucking way. I mean, you're fine dealing with all this stuff. Like normal people would probably be fucked up about this stuff, but it's more of what's gonna be, what's your future gonna look like.
Exactly.
Now.
But it could go anywhere,
because you have a little sister that's alive.
She could
that
be a
will
killer,
dependent on you. Are they gonna bring the mom in the picture? Are you gonna start to get to know the mom now? Is the daughter gonna end up killing the mom because the mom ends up being too big of a piece of shit, and Sam already got a kind of a taste of taking life, and Billy keeps making reappearances now. Who knows?
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
But now we are on the last shot now. We see Billy in the back of a car window. That's the last time we see the vision of Billy, and now we see a crane shot, like a aerial shot of the house, the party house, Stu's house. Just like in the first movie, we rise up as the sun's starting to rise, and you get this just kind of see. Now that was a set, so they must have put a green screen or something on the side to see like further out, which I'm glad they did, because that just made that house look like, that's what really like set it for me. Like, wow, they did such a good job at like duplicating that. So it was awesome that they used the last shot of this movie as the same last shot of the first movie for the most part.
Yeah, and it felt so like the style of closing like that felt so reminiscent of the era, of when they did film that first film, and doing stuff like that. I was like, I don't think anybody's closed out a film like that since they made that first movie, because that was just kind of a thing that they just kind of stopped doing that.
Second one too, but
yeah,
it's
wild, man. So I'm gonna start by doing my final thoughts and conclusionary thoughts and all that good stuff, and I'll let you wrap us all up right at the very end. All right. All in all, I had such a wonderful experience with this film, especially being able to get that extra one-up with having a really good audience in the movie theater the second time around. It was more than just a popcorn eating film. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of Easter eggs. There's a lot of the mystery of it really keeps you involved. How serious and dark and petrifying that Ghostface is in this film makes the level of excitement every time that he is anywhere in the midst of the silver screen. Just the whole thing was enthralling as far as the killer was concerned, and I think that's why maybe sometimes they felt like they could get away with doing more of the pop-up scares and stuff like that because of how intimidating he was, that they probably felt like more people were going to be on the edge of their seat and being affected by a lot of those jumps. I think that it was really awesome, and I give them a lot of props, like you said, how meta they are, and how much that they really play off of their own story and their own script and the reality of what the series actually is and what the movie is, in order to proceed forward and get to the end in a way that is effective and somehow funny all at the same time. Getting through this film, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect or how to feel about it, because I had seen all the movies at one time. The first one definitely more than once, but none of them really stuck with me except for a little, bits and pieces of the first one. And watching this, I was into it. I had a lot of fun. I loved it. The lighting was great. The music was wonderful. The acting, for the most part, was really on par. I loved a lot of the background, a lot of the settings. There was a lot of great work put into this, and I think that it paid a great respect to a series that deserves all the respect in the world. And with that being said, I give this film a 7 out of 10 empty popcorn buckets. Hit me with your final thoughts. Oh, baby.
I thought it was going to be great when I first, all the stuff that I was seeing, and part of me was like, I hope it's good. I hope it's good. Still had doubt that it might not be, but I still really wanted it to be good. And it definitely delivered. Like I said, the first experience kind of sucked just because of the theater, but I enjoyed the movie. And then seeing it the second time, and especially picking up more things that I missed, I enjoyed it more. I feel like I got to live in it a little bit more and understand it more compared to just watching it once. And I love all the bringing back all these characters, and having Billy there was cool, even though the visions were weird, but they did that in 3 anyway. It's just all the references from the past films. You could tell that these directors really were fans, and they wanted to listen to the fans, and obviously it is getting really good praise from everyone. And having the original characters back, and then the fact that they aren't afraid to kill people, and to kill them fast and like, wow. I think character development could have been a little bit better. I am excited though to see if they do make a sequel, which I'm sure they will, to see to see Mindy and Chad more, and I kind of do like the new, like, I guess you could say Sydney. Like, I didn't mind her. I liked her, and I did like Tara. I will be sad if they don't have Nev and Courtney back again, because I'm sure that they both, at this point, is kind of like moving on, which they could definitely close their story out at this point and be okay. It made me really sad when David died, Dewey. That really hit me. Oh, what else? There's so much I could say. I had so much stuff I wanted to say, and I can't even think, but it shocked me so many times. It made me gasp. It made me laugh. It was definitely the darkest film so far. I wasn't, like I said, I wish there was a little bit more with like the chase scenes and stuff, but other than that, I think it was great. Like you said, the lighting was awesome, especially compared to like the fourth one. It didn't have like this fuzzy looking filter on it like the fourth one did. It was just crisp, and its like location felt like Woodsboro. Like it felt like it could have been that town. So I absolutely love this film. It's hard for me to just tell you rating wise, because I'm going to rate this movie better than what most people will, because of how much it means to me, like the series in general and just all that. So this is going to be rated higher than what some people might. This is more of a personal rating. But first off, I have to say, before going into this rating, because again, I could keep talking about this movie and how much I like and some of the things I don't like, but for the most part, just love, I'm just going to get straight to it. So Scream 1 is my absolute favorite movie, and I would give that movie a 10 out of 10 every day, all the time. Again, with that being said, I would put the first 4 Screams in a 10 out of 10 category for me personally, of how much I love them. I could honestly intertwine any of them and be okay with watching any of them at any time. But nothing will beat the first one. That is a 10 out of 10, but higher than the other, if that makes sense. Because we can't do like 9 point blah, blah, blah. It's like 9 or 10, So I'm just going to give it a 10 because I love them all so much. No. So I give all 5 Screams a 10 out of 10. I give this a 10 out of 10 because I just love where it fits in the series. Again, it's not perfect, but just because of how much I love Scream and love seeing this resurgence, seeing the 11-year wait come to life, and how scary, how much more scary and brutal Scream was, and Ghostface, and like how he looked, and like going back to the locations, it was amazing. So again, a 10 out of 10, but I will rate it in the sense, because I'm going to give them all a 10 out of 10 unless they really just butcher the movie. So I'm going to rate it by movie. I'm going to by the Scream films in order of what I like the most. It took me a little while to come to this conclusion. So first, Scream 1 will always be my number 1. I did have my original list was Scream 1, Scream 4, Scream 3, and Scream 2. And again, they all are so close that you could mix into, I might next week say something else because they're so close in rating. But as of now, I want to say that I would put Scream 1, Scream 5, Scream 4, Scream 3, and Scream 2. That's my order of what I like. And again, I love Scream 2 as well. It's not like it's the shittiest one. I just out of them all, that's the one I don't go to as much. I think Scream 3 is like the most goofy and has the most like just fun with it. I think Scream 1 is just obviously amazing. Scream 4, I loved the characters, more character development. Again, that was another 10 or 11 years after the third one, and just seeing everyone again, and just something about that one, it was special to me as well. So yeah, I love them all. So Joe, with that being said, is Army of Thieves still your favorite movie?
That's a tough one. But I am going to have to say yes, Army of Thieves is still my favorite movie that we have done so far. What about you? Is this your new favorite movie we've reviewed? Or is it still Fear Street?
I have to say that Fear Street Part 1, 1994, will now have to be pushed to the side and make room for my new favorite film, of this series.
Get out the way.
Scream.
Get out the way.
2022.
Should have known it was going to take the crown.
Absolutely.
Good old Scream. You've been yapping your fucking gums about it since day one.
I can't stop thinking about it.
It was meant to happen. I'm sure that I wish that I could have just seen. You probably were
I was
glowing.
a kid. I was.
People probably thought you were pregnant. Thought you were the first male pregnant person just because of how fucking glowy
I am
you
with
were
baby
from being
at
in
this
this
moment.
experience.
Still.
I am with baby.
Yep.
It's amazing.
I'm having
amazing.
quadruplets.
Well, this moment will go down in history because one day, Dillon, you will be looking back at this moment being like, oh, man, I wish I could be there right now. But you're here right now in this moment, living the dream.
I am.
How long did you know about this film coming? Like for a while? Were you expecting it at all?
I feel like since it's been talked about since like 2019, maybe 2020. Then the COVID happened, and that kind of like.
But did you believe it?
Not when it was first announced. Not until I heard that like David was signed on to do it, and I was like, okay, cool, but we still need Gail and Sydney, and then then Courtney Cox signed on. I was like, okay, cool. Now it's just Sydney. Come on, and then Sydney signed on. I was like, fuck yeah, so it's gonna happen. But then COVID happened, so there's a major delay, and it took like an extra year, and you know how all that stuff happened. But they made it, and they made it great.
I think Gail will be back again.
You think? I think she really likes the Scream series. She like does a lot of stuff on her Instagram and stuff.
Most of the feeling is it seems like she likes to be a part of the series, but I could see because, you know, most of the time they write people in and out of stuff a lot because of whether they want to stay or they have something else to do, or, you know, it doesn't even actually have anything to do with the real story. There's just people that find opportunities, or people don't get along, or things don't work out, whatever it is. So between her, being kind of what seems to be closer to the franchise and the series, or whatever you want to call it, and her kind of leaning into, whether it's just she kind of, makes a quick little cameo of even like, after she's working on that new book, or that new book is made, or if that even has anything to do with it at all. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like,
yeah, like a little.
I don't know
like
how much or
news
little
cameo or something.
I don't know how much or little,
Or
she
like
could,
book
it could
thing.
just be an episode of them watching her on the news or anything. I have a feeling that she'll be back. I think Sydney's definitely gone, obviously, unless for whatever reason they do some weird flashback shit or something, then Dewey's definitely gone. But
because it's late, I just want to jump to it. The only thing is, I just want to get like a quick plug, which is Archive 81 is the one show that I worked on, like the first one I worked on since the pandemic. It's like one of the first productions since the pandemic started, and it just came out to Netflix. It's like James Wan, executive producer. It's about like finding these tapes and like restoring them, and unfolding the story that's kind of like paranormal, alien, demon, some kind of situation. I've only watched the first season. It's based off of a podcast, also by the same name, Archive 81. There's a season 1 and 2. 2 I wasn't a big fan of. Season 1 wasn't okay, but it was neat playing the podcast while making the sets and just living in the environment that they're talking about, which was pretty cool. But yeah, so that's out now, and it seems like it's getting pretty good reviews, and hopefully if we get enough views, that means that they'll come back for season 2, so meaning I get to still get paid. So yeah, that's it.
I did everything in my power to make this happen. You have no idea. Just this movie was so worth it, and I the one of the most important things that I felt like I could do and wanted to do was mark this movie and mark this moment and mark this experience with you, so that unlike any other horror film that you've had in your life or anything like that, you'll always be able to come back and reflect on this moment and remember this moment and think about us having all this momentum, and then we get so excited and we talk to each other, and then by the time we're done actually just talking to each other, we're already starting to feel a little burnt out, and then we get into the real deal and we start kicking ass, and then
I know when we started this like Because we've already been talking for like 2 hours before this.
And then we get a second wind, and then we start really busting through it again, and then we're like, well, where the fuck even are we at this point? We're like, what is life even at this point? And you won't be able to really tell throughout the edit after everything's all cleaned up for the most part. But doing all this has just been so tough. There's 3 fucking other episodes on the back burner. Things are getting done. Life is fucking weird right now. But doing this is what has been a great part of keeping things special and keeping things alive. This is one of those things where, as much of a pain in the ass as it might be right now, when the time comes, it could even be a week from now, I will be incredibly thankful that we took the time to do it, regardless of the consequences that may come from doing it.
No sleep and no breathing, no eating, no thinking.
So I hope you enjoyed it, my friend. I hope this was everything that you had hoped that it could be.
It was great.
The only thing, like I said, that would have made it better is if we could have experienced all of it
together.
But I mean, holy fuck, man! We just switched to Facebook Messenger video, and it feels like you're right there now.
I know.
For some reason, you feel so much closer to me than you've been in over a whole year that I've been in Tampa now.
Can't believe it. The time.
Only 6 more months, and then I'll beat out the amount of time that I was in Pittsburgh.
Won't be long.
And then this will officially be that's when I will officially start to call this home. Is after six more months. This will officially be home.
Well, with that being said,
it's only a particular movie just like this that you would find yourself sitting in a movie theater all alone, having yourself the wonderful deal that would be a very large popcorn and a very large soda. Because what better time than to fill your body with garbage than while you're sitting there watching a movie? And a movie like this might just make you feel a certain way where tensions start to climb, hairs stand on their end. Your brow begins to raise, your teeth begin to clamor. And suddenly you get the jump scare which makes you spill your popcorn everywhere, and Ghostface comes up behind you, slides his cold blade against your neck, and comes back in your ear and reminds you of only one thing and one thing only.
Don't spill the popcorn.
Imagine 2 foam balls. Are you ready to
3,
rumble?
2, 1.
I was going to say, imagine 2 phone books smashing your balls. But instead I got too excited and I was like, imagine phone balls.
Phone balls. Who's calling? Ring, ring. It's motherfucking Ghostface.
Imagine phone balls. Now I'm going to have to make a fucking picture of me with phones for balls.
Or balls for phones.
There'll be the rotor phones.
Like they're like your phone is your balls.
No, could you imagine the texture of a giant ball?
It would just be rolly and sacky, and yeah.
It'd
be kind of fun though.
You could never hold on to the ball because the skin would keep on getting too much skin in your hand, and the ball would just kind of slide out, and you just get stuck with a handful of skin. You're like, ew,
It's almost like those things that look like pocket pussies. Remember those like little, they had like the little sparkles and like gel things as we were like those little things we play with little kids.
It was like the gel form of the Chinese finger trap, except you didn't get your finger stuck in it.
Dude, I was seeing like some article once or like something like nostalgia pictures or whatever, and that was one of them. And I was reading the comments, and all these people were saying, "Don't tell me that you didn't stick your dick in there." Something like that. Yeah.
I used to put my pee-pee in there. No, of all things that I've ever done in my entire life, that's actually something I've never tried.
I know, right? I kind of like, I guess, I don't think...
I would be the first fucking person to say, yeah, for sure.
I knew about it back then, but what we were missing.
But all the ones that I ever got, they were like so small and tight, I like could barely even fit my own fingers into it.
Well, then you should be fine.
I didn't know that Mr. Krabs actually married money at one point. I watched Mr. Krabs get married to money. Yes, it was a female stack of ones. Do that. Do the new films only like you were Oprah handing out a fucking free dildos or something.
How am I supposed to do that?
Like how Oprah does it.
You get a film.
No,
you only. What do you want?
Just say new films only, like you're Oprah Winfrey.
Oh.
Like she's excited.
New films only.
New films only.
Oh, okay. I get it now. Okay.
Except it was supposed to be you. Did you peek?
Huh? Did I
you
peek?
peek?
I don't think it.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like I did. I stood back here.
Okay, well then let's proceed.
If not, you can use one of the other ones, you fucking asshole. Your turn.
Yeah, it just becomes a word then. Just might as well say Moogle gosh kukiki boop boop boop. Same fucking shit.
Okay, we'll stick with fuck then, because the other one was too hard.
Mugugashi kiki pee pee poop poop.
That's not even the same thing.
It's close though.
Now that you almost said shit there. That's what that
I'll
one
put them
meant.
together. I'll put them together in the bloopers and see
Shit
how close
fuck.
they were.
Shit fuck. Oh, what you just said.
Shit fuck. Shit fuck.
Shit fuck. So
All right,
I
go
think
ahead, Tourette's boy.
when Tara finally, he comes in. Oh, sorry. Let me. Whoa. Let me go back.
High hopes.
Beltrami, is that his name?
Yeah.
Marco Beltrami.
Yeah.
Beltrami. Yeah.
Marco Polo Pastrami.
Exactly.
Hey! None of these cars are manuals anymore. It's all electronic, automatic, battery-powered, fast cars that are keeping me alive.
This is why this goes on for so long.
Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay, so we're at the beginning of this movie still, so